Chapter 170. Hearing this, the frenzied rhino Douluo smiled slightly. That's right, with a peerless beauty like Miss, how could young Master Yuan care about those mediocre beauties? For example, if you already had a peerless treasure like the jade annulus of He clan, and someone gave you a piece of broken glass, wouldn't you want it? You probably wouldn't even bother to look at it. A battle between soul grandmasters is really boring. Is this the strength of the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena? Lu Yuan shook his head. They were too weak, and he had no desire to watch at all. From battle awareness to fighting techniques, they were all a mess. Furthermore, wasn't the destructive power of these soul grandmasters a little too weak? It seemed that he had to fight those of a higher rank. Furthermore, his opponents were all soul grandmasters, and each victory only gave him 1 point. Upgrading to Gold Soul required 5,000 points. Even with the bonus points from consecutive victories, it still required a lot of time. He didn't have that much time to waste. However, the points for fighting those of a higher rank were very generous. Seeing the disdain in Lu Yuan's eyes, the frenzied rhino Douluo laughed. It's rare to meet a genius in this great soul arena, and even the so-called genius is far inferior to young Master Yuan. He wasn't exaggerating at all. Lu Yuan wasn't even 10 years old yet, but he was already a Class 29 soul beast. That meant he'd be a soul exalt by the time he was 10 years old. If that was the case, then he'd be a soul ancestor by the time he was 13. One had to know that even Miss, who had a full soul power of rank 20, had only just become a soul ancestor by the time she was 13 years old. However, Miss' starting point was almost 10 ranks higher than young Master Yuan. Young Master Yuan was actually able to reach the same height as Miss at the same age. This talent was really terrifying. Senior frenzied rhino, you praise me too much. Lu Yuan waved his hand, and there was no trace of complacency on his face. He knew his position better than anyone else. Being able to reach his current level was the result of his own hard work. He never took any pills, nor did he use the so-called resources. He relied on his own cultivation. Of course, if he obtained the immortal grass in the future, he would still take the pills he needed. He would be a fool if he didn't. What he cultivated himself was naturally the best and the most reliable. Hua Yuhao wasn't moved by the frenzy rhino Douluo's praise. He wasn't the kind of person who liked to listen to flattery. Wouldn't it be better for him to meditate if he had the time to do so? The infernal rhinoceros Douluo nodded his head in approval when he saw that Lu Yuan was still as calm as ever. Young Master Yuan was indeed a dragon among men. He wasn't arrogant or complacent at all. Instead, every step he took was very stable. The frenzy rhino Douluo had witnessed everything that Lu Yuan had done ever since he came to Heaven Do Imperial City. He was truly a rare talent that only appeared once in 100 years. Venue C, the next battle, Emperor Dragon vs. Black Snake. Contestants Emperor Dragon and Black Snake, please get ready, the loudspeaker announced while the two were chatting. Oh, is it my turn? Lu Yuan stretched his back and quickly dismissed this so-called opponent. Then, he prepared to start the cross-realm challenge. Lu Yuan walked into the Great Soul dueling arena. On the other side, a shadowy man with a scar on his face walked up to him. Now, let me introduce the results of the two contestants. Contestant Black Snake has achieved 5 consecutive victories in Heaven Do Great Soul dueling arena. His strength is clear for all to see. Today is the first day of the soul duel for contestant Emperor Dragon. Will contestant Mysterious Snake continue to win, or will contestant Emperor Dragon make a comeback and create a miracle? The announcer's voice was very exaggerated. It was obvious that he wasn't optimistic about Lu Yuan's chances. After all, Lu Yuan's opponent today was Black Snake, who had achieved 5 consecutive victories. Black Snake, Black Snake, Black Snake. The audience reacted enthusiastically. Clearly, they were all supporting Black Snake. Emperor Dragon, Emperor Dragon, Emperor Dragon. Amidst the voices of support for Black Snake, a strange voice rang out. A male audience member looked at his girlfriend and said, "Why are you shouting for Emperor Dragon? Black Snake is obviously stronger, I know, but Emperor Dragon is so handsome. His girlfriend's eyes were full of stars. She looked like a love-struck fool. The male audience member was unhappy. Black Snake has achieved 5 consecutive victories. He'll achieve 6 more today. I know, but Emperor Dragon is so handsome. Black Snake will beat him up. The male audience member said angrily. Women are really shallow. They only care about appearance. Strength is king, don't you know? But Emperor Dragon is so handsome. The male audience, Lu Yuan, stepped onto the arena. He turned a deaf ear to the deafening voices around him. His eyes were still calm. Black Snake was Lu Yuan's opponent. He was a shadowy man with a scar on his face. He was currently staring at Lu Yuan with a vicious look in his narrow eyes. He hated pretty boys the most. Later, he would let this brat in front of him know how powerful he was. Lu Yuan looked at the opponent in front of him with an indifferent gaze. 3, 2, 1. Begin. The host's voice rang out. Martial soul possession, black-lined Black Snake. Black lines began to appear on Black Snake's body. His face became even more ferocious. The black-lined Black Snake was a beast martial soul that contained a strong venom. Black Snake's soul ring combination was also unusual. He actually had 200-year soul rings. It was no wonder he could achieve 5 consecutive victories. Die, kid. Black Snake immediately used his first soul skill, Black Snake's Kiss. He condensed a giant snake of energy to attack his opponent. Moreover, it contained the black-lined Black Snake's venom. Good job, mysterious snake. Take down that pretty boy, a male spectator shouted excitedly from below the stage. Boring attacks. Lu Yuan said indifferently as he looked at the energy in Black Snake's hand. He stomped his foot and the specially reinforced arena cracked. Lu Yuan's figure suddenly dashed out. What? Where is he? Black Snake was startled. He instantly lost sight of Lu Yuan's figure. Suddenly, Lu Yuan's silhouette appeared and punched at Dusk Snake with a golden fist. Not good. Second soul skill, Black Snake Strangle. Black Snake was shocked and quickly used his second soul skill. Boom. Under Lu Yuan's punch, the Black Snake Strangle was blasted into pieces. Then, a golden fist landed on Black Snake's body and threw him out of the arena. 5 consecutive victories. He killed him with one punch. The audience was dumbfounded. The host was the first to recover, but he was still shocked. The match is over. Huang Long wins. Huang Long. Huang Long. Huang Long. The audience cheered for Lu Yuan. This was the Great Soul Arena, a place where only the winner could enjoy the cheers. The loser was ignored. Lu Yuan looked around, his heart unmoved. He turned around and left. How is this possible? Below the arena, a male audience member's mouth was wide open, his face filled with disbelief. Huang Long is really strong, but the main thing is that he's too handsome. His girlfriend's voice came from beside him. The male audience member turned around and saw a love-struck expression. Chapter 171. Looking at Lu Yuan's departing figure, the host's heart was filled with shock. He had a premonition that this person named Huang Long might set off a huge storm in the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena. Young Master Yuan? The frenzy Rhino Douluo called out as he watched Lu Yuan return to the private room. Let's go back first. We'll come back tomorrow, Lu Yuan said. Today was the end of the month, and tomorrow would be a new month. He was prepared to complete his goal in the next month. The frenzy Rhino Douluo nodded. The two of them walked out of the Great Soul Arena side by side. Crown Prince's residence. Chihiro Snow held a cup of tea as she looked at the snake spear Douluo beside her and asked, Lu Yuan hasn't been here for a long time. What is he doing? The snake spear Douluo said, Young Master Yuan has been in the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena every day. He participates in 1-on-1, 2-on-2, and group soul battles every day. Now, he has won 29 consecutive battles with these 3 soul battles. If he wins another battle, he will be able to get a purple gold medal after the points are tallied. Oh, that's not bad. Chihiro Snow sipped her tea and seemed to think of something. She asked, You said that he participates in 2-on-2 and group soul battles. Where did he get his teammates? Chihiro Snow was a little puzzled. If she remembered correctly, this guy came alone. Then where did he get his teammates? Young Master Yuan doesn't have any teammates. He fought 1-on-2. Even in the group battle, he fought alone, the snake spear Douluo said. Chihiro Snow was shocked. She asked, then what level of competition is this guy participating in? Soul Grandmaster? No, young Master Yuan is participating in the Soul Elder Arena. He is challenging those of a higher level. He's only a rank 29, but he's still able to defeat 7 Soul Exalts over the level of 30 and win 29 matches in a row. This guy's improved quite a bit. Chihiro Snow was a little surprised. It seemed that after not seeing him for more than a year, Lu Yuan's strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Even she was a little surprised by his achievements. The snake spear Douluo said, young Master Yuan is indeed impressive. Furthermore, I've heard that young Master Yuan wins every single battle. He's like a superstar in the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena now. He's very popular. Ha! Chihiro Snow smiled. Sure enough, this guy was not born to be low-key. Wherever he went, he would be the center of attention. Qian Runxue stood up and said, make some preparations later. Come with me to the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena and watch this fellow's final battle. On one hand, she was indeed curious about Lu Yuan's strength, but on the other hand, she would not say it out loud. After not seeing him for a month, she somewhat missed Lu Yuan, that rascal who liked to take advantage of her. Heaven Do Great Soul Arena. Lu Yuan was dressed in white. In front of him were 7 men and women dressed in different colors. This was his last battle in the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena. Before this, he had already gone through 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 battles, and he had easily swept his opponent. As a Soul Elder, there were too few people who could take a few punches and kicks from him. Lu Yuan was now like a superstar in the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena. In 29 days, he had won 3 consecutive battles every day. This was already a legend in the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena. Furthermore, all of his opponents were 2-ringed and 3-ringed. Even the most picky audience was conquered by Lu Yuan's strength. Emperor Dragon! Emperor Dragon! Emperor Dragon! The moment Lu Yuan stepped onto the stage, the audience below the stage cheered enthusiastically. Both men and women gave Lu Yuan the biggest cheer and support. The men admired Lu Yuan's unparalleled strength, while the women coveted Lu Yuan's unparalleled celestial appearance. Almost everyone in the audience was Lu Yuan's fan. The 7 people facing Lu Yuan seemed to be a little flustered. Clearly, Lu Yuan was only one person, but in their eyes, he was more terrifying than a scourge. Because of this man's great name, they also knew very well about him. Many teams that were even more powerful than them had fallen in front of this man one by one. He was clearly a mere Soul Grandmaster. What was wrong with this world? Could a Soul Grandmaster beat a group of Soul Elders by himself? Alright, our contestants are all here now. On my left is Team Scarlet Blood. This team has also achieved very good results. On my right is our contestant Emperor Dragon. For the past month, contestant Emperor Dragon has continuously achieved 1-on-1 victories in our Heaven Do Great Soul Arena. 1 against 2, 30 consecutive victories, and 1 against 7, 29 consecutive victories. Moreover, they were all against opponents of a higher rank than them. Today is the last day of the month. Let us see if contestant Emperor Dragon can create another miracle. The host's words were full of praise for Lu Yuan. To the current Heaven Do Great Soul Arena, Lu Yuan was already a legendary existence. A legend that couldn't be replicated. Oh, is it starting? In a private room, Chihiro Snow's disguise, Xue Qinghe, Snake Spear, Thorny Pufferfish, and Wild Rhino were all present. In fact, this was Lu Yuan's private room, but it was temporarily commandeered by Chihiro Snow. Of course, Lu Yuan himself didn't know about it. At that time, he had already gone to the competition. Chihiro Snow arrived a little late and missed the 1-on-1 and 1-on-2 matches. However, he didn't miss the last team battle. Stinky guy, let me see how strong you are now, Chihiro Snow muttered. Begin. As soon as the host's voice fell, Lu Yuan's martial soul instantly entered his body. His golden dragon martial soul's divine might bloomed, and 2 soul rings, 1 yellow and 1 purple, shone brightly. The battle was about to begin. 2 minutes later, Lu Yuan casually threw the soul elder in his hand away. In a short 2 minutes, Lu Yuan had already ended the battle. 7 versus 1 actually didn't affect Lu Yuan much. With Lu Yuan's speed, numbers didn't have much meaning to him. If he wanted to win, he could only rely on absolute strength to crush him. Using numbers to overwhelm him wouldn't work. Soul Elders were basically unable to block his full-strength punch now that he had his martial soul in his body. 7 people would only take a little more effort. The competition is over. Congratulations to contestant Huang Long for obtaining his 30th consecutive victory as a team battle soul. The host's excited voice sounded. Huang Long! Huang Long! Huang Long! The entire audience cheered. Lu Yuan had created a new record. In a month, he had obtained 30 consecutive victories in 3 soul battles, 1-on-1, 1-on-2, and 1-on-7. This was simply a miracle in the eyes of ordinary people. Lu Yuan's expression was still indifferent. He turned around and walked towards the exit. It's over. Chihiro Snow's eyes were filled with astonishment when he saw Lu Yuan defeating 7 soul elders like he was beating a chicken. Lu Yuan's strength was probably close to that of a soul king. Moreover, even an ordinary soul king might not be able to do it so easily. This stinky guy really has some strength, Chihiro Snow muttered to himself. Chapter 172. Lu Yuan walked in big strides, and the soles of his shoes touched the ground of the great fighting soul arena, making a clattering sound. He had won 30 consecutive 1-on-1, 1-on-2, and group battle soul battles. Now, he was qualified to advance to the purple gold fighting soul medal, and he was not far from the sapphire medal. After all, the score of cross-level battles was 10 times, and with the addition of the winning streak, Lu Yuan's score had reached an amazing level. The fighting soul badge was calculated at the end of each month. Now, Lu Yuan's fighting soul badge was still the iron fighting soul badge, but after this calculation, his fighting soul badge would be upgraded. Hello, please calculate the score. Lu Yuan handed the fighting soul badge to the waiter at the front desk. The waiter looked up and recognized Lu Yuan, Huang Long. There was a hint of excitement in his voice. Now that Lu Yuan was in the great fighting soul arena, there were very few staff who didn't know him. Just as the waiter was about to take Lu Yuan's fighting soul badge, a middle-aged man in a white suit came out. Let me do it, the middle-aged man said. Okay, Deacon Zheng, the waiter said quickly. Deacon Zheng took the iron fighting soul badge from Lu Yuan's hand with a smile on his face. Mr. Huang Long, I've heard a lot about you. You look like 13 or 14 years old. You are really young and promising. You flatter me. Lu Yuan nodded lightly. Haha. Seeing Lu Yuan's attitude, Deacon Zheng didn't care because he also understood that the Emperor Dragon in front of him had such a cold temper. Actually, I came here this time because I have something to discuss with Mr. Huang Long. Oh, what is it? He didn't care that Deacon Zheng might be thinking about him. After all, with his performance in the Great Fighting Soul Arena, he would attract the attention of the Great Fighting Soul Arena sooner or later. In fact, Lu Yuan was a little surprised that Deacon Zheng could wait until now to come. Our Heaven Do Great Soul Arena would like to invite Mr. Huang Long as a guest participant of our Great Soul Arena. What do you think? Guest contestant? Lu Yuan frowned. What do you mean? Guest contestants are equivalent to our Great Soul Arena's consecrators. They can enjoy the consecrations of our Great Soul Arena. They only need to come out when our Great Soul Arena needs help, Deacon Zheng said. Lu Yuan frowned and said, aren't they just hired thugs? I don't have that much time to waste in the Great Soul Arena. Deacon Zheng's face stiffened, and he said, Mr. Huang Long, won't you reconsider? This matter is very beneficial to both of us. Lu Yuan glanced at Deacon Zheng and said, I know what the Great Soul Arena is thinking. Today is my last battle in the Heaven Do Arena. I won't come here again, and I won't let your Great Soul Arena lose money. What does Deacon Zheng think? After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Deacon Zheng's face was full of smiles. He said, "Since Mr. Huang Long has said so, the Heaven Do Arena won't force you." As he spoke, he calculated Lu Yuan's points and exchanged them for a gorgeous purple-gold fighting soul badge and handed it to Lu Yuan. At the same time, he also gave him a golden card. This was the wealth that Lu Yuan had won in the Great Soul Arena. It was about 100,000 gold soul coins. Lu Yuan took the fighting soul badge and the golden card, and turned to leave. It seemed that this was the last time he came to the Heaven Do Arena. How could he not understand the Heaven Do Arena's intentions? There was no doubt that his winning rate in the Heaven Do Arena was too high. As long as he appeared, the audience would bet on him winning. Naturally, the Heaven Do Arena would lose money. It was fine if this happened once or twice, but if it happened too many times, the Heaven Do Arena would feel the pinch. Therefore, the Heaven Do Arena would definitely take countermeasures. The so-called guest contestant was just a cover. The main purpose was to make Lu Yuan give up. Therefore, when Lu Yuan said so, Deacon Zheng naturally agreed. In the end, it was just for the sake of profit. If Lu Yuan was just an ordinary person, perhaps the Heaven Do Arena would have already made trouble for him. They wouldn't be negotiating with him like now. Because Lu Yuan was too mysterious and outstanding, it was obvious that he had a strong background. The Heaven Do Arena didn't dare to mess with him. Therefore, they came up with this trick. Lu Yuan had already seen through these things, but he didn't care in his heart. Even if the Heaven Do Arena didn't make trouble for him, he wouldn't come in the future. He wasn't that free. Thinking about this, Lu Yuan lifted his leg and walked towards his box. The door of the box was closed. Lu Yuan wasn't surprised. After all, he was now quite famous in the Great Soul Arena. If he didn't close the door, many small fans would come one by one. He couldn't stand it. He liked to be quiet. Pushing open the door of the box, the first thing that came into view was Chihiro Snow disguised as Xue Qinghe. Looking at Lu Yuan's surprised expression, he even gave Lu Yuan a playful look. Lu Yuan's body trembled and he instantly felt a chill. If it was still Chihiro Snow's original appearance, it would naturally be charming. But now that Chihiro Snow was wearing the face of Xue Qinghe, Lu Yuan almost got a fright. "Why are you here?" Lu Yuan walked in and closed the door of the box. "I'm here to see the performance of our great master Lu," Chihiro Snow said. "You came out just because you said so. Why are you still wearing this face? Aren't you afraid of attracting attention?" Xue Qinghe was the current crown prince. Many people in Heaven Do Imperial City knew him. If he came to find him like this and attracted attention, it was very likely that his relationship with him would be exposed. When did this girl become so bold? "It's okay, we came out secretly. We won't attract attention," Chihiro Snow said. Lu Yuan took a few steps forward and glanced at the three-titled Douluo beside him. Then, he pointed at the door of the box. "Oh, understood, understood." The frenzy Rhino Douluo instantly reacted. He opened the door and walked out of the box. The two titled Douluo, Snake Spear and Thorny Pufferfish, also instantly understood something. They looked at the two of them with ambiguous gazes. Then, with an inexplicable smile on their faces, they also walked out of the box together and closed the door of the box. Seeing the actions of the three titled Douluo, Chihiro Snow's face flushed red. Only Chihiro Snow and Lu Yuan were left in the box. Chihiro Snow removed the disguise on his face. Instantly, the beautiful Chihiro Snow was back. Lu Yuan took a few steps forward and gently held Chihiro Snow's hand. "Did you miss me?" "Who missed you? You're shameless," Chihiro Snow said, but the corner of his mouth curved into a smile. "It's been a month, and I'm seeing this guy again." Hearing this, Lu Yuan smiled. Sure enough, Xiao Xue was being arrogant again. However, he still liked this proud Xiao Xue. Chapter 173. Lu Yuan held Chihiro Snow's jade-like hand and said, "How have you been this month?" I've been in the Great Soul Arena all this time and haven't had time to see you. It's okay. Chihiro Snow nodded and said, things are going well. Thanks to the roster you gave me, I've already found reasons to cut off 2 people this month. But you have to be careful, don't go overboard, just take it slow. Lu Yuan said. I know. Chihiro Snow said, after watching your match today, you've improved a lot. Chihiro Snow was a little surprised. Lu Yuan's current strength was much stronger than it was more than a year ago. It's been so long, there should be some improvement. If I'm not wrong, you should be rank 49 now, and you're about to break through rank 50, Lu Yuan said with a smile. Chihiro Snow was 6 years older than her. Although he was 6 years old, he was actually only a little over 5 years old, and he was already rank 49. This meant that Chihiro Snow would be able to break through to Soul King soon. A 15-year-old Soul King, this was the only one in the entire continent. At least for now. How can you tell? Qian Runxue was a little puzzled. It was understandable for someone of a higher rank to be able to see through someone of a lower rank. However, Lu Yuan's soul power rank was much lower than hers. How could he see through her rank? This is a secret. Lu Yuan smiled mysteriously. Secret? Chihiro Snow's voice rose a few degrees, her jade-like hand climbed onto Lu Yuan's waist, she gritted her teeth and said, what other secrets do you have that you can't tell me? There was a trace of imperceptible disappointment in her tone. Lu Yuan pulled Chihiro Snow's hand slightly and hugged Chihiro Snow into his arms, and said with a smile, I'm just teasing you, listen to me. His tone was light and gentle. What is it? Being embraced by Lu Yuan, Chihiro Snow did not struggle. Perhaps she missed this feeling too. How much do you know about the ancient Star Luo ruins? Lu Yuan asked. I don't know much about it. However, Grandpa sent a letter saying that you obtained a lot of benefits from sitting in the ancient ruins. Chihiro Snow said. There are indeed many benefits. I obtained a divine seed in the ancient ruins, which caused a huge change in my body. Not only did my martial spirit gain a trace of divinity, but I also awakened my second martial spirit. At the same time, I also received the favor of a god, said Lu Yuan. Divine seed. Chihiro Snow's pretty face showed a trace of shock. Then you. Yes, now I'm the same as you. Lu Yuan gently kissed Chihiro Snow's tender red lips and said, in the future, we can really be together forever. Even if we become gods, we can still be together. After being kissed by Lu Yuan again, Chihiro Snow still did not move. She was still shocked by Lu Yuan's words. After a moment, she finally came back to her senses. Thinking about what Lu Yuan had done to her, she felt shy and helpless. She rolled her eyes and said, you're up to no good again. Lu Yuan chuckled and gently moved closer to Chihiro Snow's ear and said, I just like to play tricks on you. Hearing this, Chihiro Snow was somewhat helpless. She really did not know what to do with this scoundrel. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and said, you just said that you awakened your second martial spirit. Then what is your martial spirit? Of course it's my eyes. It's also my jewel pupils. Although it can't be used with soul rings, it has many wonderful uses. As he spoke, he introduced the effects of his jewel pupils. No wonder you were able to discover my rank. It's because of my jewel pupils. As Chihiro Snow spoke, she suddenly asked, since your jewel pupils can see through facades, then if I put on a disguise, can you see through it? Yes. Lu Yuan said. Chihiro Snow was shocked. Her disguise could be said to be flawless. She even borrowed the power of a soul bone in the angel set. Even so, Lu Yuan was still able to see through it. This meant that his jewel pupils were quite powerful. How strong are you now? Chihiro Snow asked. The current Lu Yuan was full of mysteries. Even she felt a faint sense of threat. One had to know that she was a rank 49 soul ancestor with a divine martial spirit. Compared to Lu Yuan, she was 20 ranks higher. How strong. I should be able to defeat most soul kings and below. If it's a soul king, I should be able to fight them if I use the power of my polychoria. Lu Yuan estimated his own strength, and that was basically it. The god-slaying spear was not included in this because that thing was too terrifying. If it wasn't for the fact that he was at the end of his rope, Lu Yuan would definitely not use it. Hiss. Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan strangely. This guy is really a bit abnormal. With her current strength, she should have no problem dealing with a Soul King. However, it would be very difficult to defeat a Soul Emperor. It was just a difference of 1 rank. However, this guy in front of her was able to defeat a Soul Ancestor who was 2 ranks above him. He could even fight a Soul King. He was really a bit abnormal. Seeing Chihiro Snow's shocked expression, Lu Yuan laughed and said, "In any case, no matter how strong I am, I can't beat you right now." The quality of the Golden Dragon and the Seraph were about the same. Lu Yuan still had the Golden Dragon's bloodline and the Clear Air scripture. However, Chihiro Snow's soul force was 20 ranks higher than his. The gap of 20 ranks was extremely large. It wasn't something that could be made up with just a bloodline and a technique. If Lu Yuan wanted to injure Chihiro Snow, he would have to use his dual pupils. However, the power of his dual pupils was unpredictable. Lu Yuan himself couldn't control it, so how could he dare to use it against Chihiro Snow? Therefore, if he were to meet Chihiro Snow now, he would still lose. "Then you mean you can beat me in the future?" Chihiro Snow said faintly. Hearing this, Lu Yuan was stunned. Chihiro Snow said again, "If you can beat me in the future, will you think of ways to bully me?" Hearing this, Lu Yuan was sweating profusely. Little Snow, what is she thinking in that head of hers? Say something. Chihiro Snow glared at Lu Yuan. How could I? Lu Yuan cupped Chihiro Snow's delicate face. His eyes were full of tenderness as he said, "You are my most beloved share. How could I bear to bully you? I can't even wait to protect you." Is that so? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan suspiciously. Of course, I promise. Lu Yuan hurriedly raised his hand. Seeing this, Chihiro Snow smiled and said, "Okay, then I will reluctantly believe you." Lu Yuan smiled and sniffed the fragrance of Chihiro Snow's hair. He said, "Share, now that I have the purple gold fighting soul badge, we can proceed with our plan." "Okay. Then you can hand over the letter of challenge." "I will go and invite Ning Fengji," Chihiro Snow said. "Okay. At the same time, I will ask Sarkaz to secretly create some momentum. It will definitely become popular very quickly," Lu Yuan said with a smile. "Okay." Chihiro Snow nodded gently. Chapter 174. In the private room, a handsome young master dressed in white was hugging a beautiful woman with snow-white skin. Lu Yuan gently kissed Chihiro Snow's red lips. He didn't know why, but as long as he was with Chihiro Snow, he couldn't help but want to take advantage of her. Their lips parted, and Lu Yuan's forehead gently pressed against Chihiro Snow's. Their eyes met, and they could hear each other's breathing. "Cher, where are you going later?" Lu Yuan asked softly. "I'm going back to the Crown Prince's residence in a while," Chihiro Snow said. "No, it's not easy for you to come out. You have to accompany me for a while," Lu Yuan said. Chihiro Snow's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly. She looked at the young man in front of her who was obsessively clinging to her. She felt quite happy in her heart. This guy is so outstanding, but doesn't he still have to grovel under my skirt? "Cher, no one will recognize you in your current appearance anyway. I'll accompany you to Heaven Do Imperial City later. I'm guessing that you've never gone shopping before," Lu Yuan said. He looked at Chihiro Snow with pity in his eyes. This girl really had it much harder than other girls. When he thought of how Hulena happily strolled around Martial Spirit City, and how she would sometimes drag him along, he would think that perhaps Chihiro Snow also liked this. It was just that she didn't have the opportunity or the time. Most importantly, she didn't have anyone to accompany her. Go shopping. Chihiro Snow's eyes were filled with a trace of confusion. As a girl, she had never gone shopping before. Moreover, the feeling of walking openly on the street with this guy as a girl might be pretty good. "You don't have any objections, right? Then it's settled." Without waiting for Chihiro Snow's response, Lu Yuan directly made the final decision. "You rascal." Chihiro Snow lightly hit Lu Yuan. She didn't say anything, so how did it become a yes? Hee. Lu Yuan lightly brushed Chihiro Snow's golden hair. He looked at the beautiful face in front of him and said, "So beautiful." Chihiro Snow laughed, but her heart was filled with joy. "Then let's go now. We can walk for a while and have a meal. You can go back after the meal, okay?" Lu Yuan looked at Chihiro Snow with anticipation. "All right." Qian Ranxue pretended to nod helplessly. Lu Yuan was overjoyed when he heard this. He kissed Qian Ranxue on the lips again and held her hand. "Let's go then." Creak. Lu Yuan held Qian Ranxue's hand and walked out of the private room. "Young Master Yuan, young mistress, what are you doing?" The three of them were shocked when they saw that Chihiro Snow had returned to her original appearance. "We're going out for a walk. Just follow behind us," Lu Yuan said. "Young Master Yuan, what about young mistress's identity?" The snake spear Douluo looked at Chihiro Snow and wanted to say something. "She's Chihiro Snow now, not Xueqinghe." "Do you think anyone in Heaven Do City will recognize Chihiro Snow?" Lu Yuan said. "Oh." The snake spear Douluo was enlightened. They were too concerned. No one in Heaven Do City knew Chihiro Snow's original appearance, so it didn't matter if it was exposed. Furthermore, so what if people knew about her identity as the Martial Soul Palace's Holy Lady? They wouldn't think of Xueqinghe. As long as Chihiro Snow didn't appear as Xueqinghe, it wouldn't matter even if she and Lu Yuan went shopping in Heaven Do Imperial City. Seeing that the three of them were enlightened, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. He held Chihiro Snow's hand and walked out of Heaven Do Imperial Soul Arena. Along the way, there were many people who recognized Lu Yuan. "Huang Long. That's Huang Long. Who's the girl beside him? She's so beautiful. Huang Long is indeed worthy of being accompanied by such a beautiful girl. Oh. Huang Long actually has a girlfriend." All sorts of voices could be heard. Qian Runxue's lily-white hand was held by Lu Yuan. As she listened to the sounds coming from all around her, her heart thumped wildly. This was the first time she had encountered such a situation. "Don't be nervous." Lu Yuan held Chihiro Snow's hand tightly. He could feel Chihiro Snow's nervousness. This girl who could kill without any hesitation was actually nervous in the face of someone else's words. Perhaps it was because of the shyness in her heart. After hearing Lu Yuan's words, Chihiro Snow's heart calmed down. The man beside her seemed to have a mysterious charm. "Okay." Chihiro Snow nodded gently as she felt the warmth from his hand. He and Chihiro Snow held hands as the two of them walked on the streets of Heaven Do Imperial City. Both of them had extraordinary auras. As they walked together, the handsome man and the beautiful woman instantly attracted the attention of passers-by. However, the two of them didn't care. They went in to take a look whenever they saw something new. On the streets, Chihiro Snow's light laughter could be heard from time to time. The snake spear Douluo and the other two followed behind them. "I've known young mistress for so long, but I've never seen her so happy," the snake spear Douluo said. "Perhaps this is the power of love." The thorny pufferfish Douluo sighed. "They're really a match made in heaven." The snake spear Douluo stroked his beard. He was full of admiration. "They're indeed a match made in heaven," the thorny pufferfish Douluo said. The two of them were a perfect match in terms of talent, intelligence, and look. The frenzy rhino Douluo was speechless. "What else can this old man say when you've already said it all?" The frenzy rhino Douluo sighed. After muttering to himself for a long time, he said, "That's great." "Hey!" The two Douluo looked at the frenzy rhino Douluo at the same time. "Rascal, it's time for me to go back," Chihiro Snow said as she looked at the sky outside. After walking around with Lu Yuan for the entire afternoon and having dinner, it was already dark. She had to go back. "Yes." Lu Yuan stood up and looked at Chihiro Snow. He asked gently, "How do you feel today?" "It's a good feeling. It's very relaxing, and very novel." Chihiro Snow thought about how she had walked around with Lu Yuan in the afternoon. This was probably the happiest she had been in so many years. "As long as you like it." Lu Yuan placed his hands on Chihiro Snow's shoulders and said, We're about to part. Why don't we have a goodbye kiss? Get lost, rascal. You're trying to take advantage of me again. Chihiro Snow scolded him jokingly. Hehe, that's not up to you. Lu Yuan chuckled and kissed Chihiro Snow's red lips. Chihiro Snow's eyelashes fluttered, and she gently closed her eyes. Lu Yuan kissed Chihiro Snow's red lips as he wished. It was still as sweet as ever. Indeed, kissing could only be done once or countless times. I'm leaving. Chihiro Snow's face was still red as she whispered to Lu Yuan. Yes. I'll hand over the letter of challenge tomorrow. I'm sure Heaven Do Imperial City will be lively again, Lu Yuan said with a smile. All right. Chihiro Snow nodded lightly before she turned and left. As he watched Chihiro Snow's beautiful figure leave, Lu Yuan felt the remnants of Chihiro Snow's taste on his lips. His eyes sparkled. Heaven Do Imperial Academy, Ning Fengji, Prince Xuexing, Dugubo. I hope Heaven Do Imperial City will be more lively in a few days. Chapter 175. Ding. Sign-in mission released. Sign-in location, Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Sign-in time, within half a month. Sign-in reward, a random titled Douluo draw card. What? The system's voice sounded in his mind, and Lu Yuan was jolted awake. The reward for this sign-in mission was directly announced. System, what's going on? Lu Yuan asked. This sign-in mission is considered a side mission. The reward is of a lower level, so it was directly announced. The system's voice sounded. A side mission with a lower level reward? Lu Yuan muttered to himself. What does this titled Douluo draw card mean? Lu Yuan asked. It can randomly draw a famous titled Douluo from the Douluo world to serve the host, and they will be 100% loyal. Of course, the Douluo world is not included. Hearing this, Lu Yuan nodded. This meant that this titled Douluo draw card could bring him another titled Douluo as his subordinate, and it had to be a famous titled Douluo. Looking at the situation, it should be after the Douluo world. After all, they were still around, and he couldn't just make another one appear. However, a titled Douluo was actually given a lower level reward. Wasn't this a little embarrassing? However, Lu Yuan thought about it from another perspective. Compared to his god-slaying spear and polychoria, a titled Douluo was indeed a little inferior. After all, if these two things were to mature, each of them could easily kill a god. A titled Douluo was indeed a little embarrassing. Lu Yuan tapped his chin lightly. It seemed like this trip to the Heaven Do Imperial Academy was a must. Just a titled Douluo draw card was worth it. This was the first titled Douluo that completely belonged to him. Lu Yuan stood up and sat at the head of the bed. Senior Wild Rhino. Lu Yuan called out softly. Young Master Yuan, what instructions do you have? The Wild Rhino Douluo asked. Help me send a letter, a challenge letter, Lu Yuan said softly. As he spoke, he flicked his finger, and an envelope flew towards the Wild Rhino Douluo. The Wild Rhino Douluo reached out and received it. All right, young Master Yuan, leave it to me. After saying that, his figure disappeared. 7 Treasures Glazed Sect, Ning Fengji. I'd like to see how wise you are as a top genius in the original work. Lu Yuan's dual pupils emitted a bright light. The 7 Treasures Glazed Sect was the wealthiest sect in the world. He had to grasp it in his hands. If he couldn't get it, then he would destroy him. As for Tang San, he was not in a hurry to kill him. He still wanted to slowly play with him. Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Bang! The dream god machine's body was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood and was imprinted on the wall. Cough cough. The dream Shunji struggled to its feet and looked at the frenzy Rhino Douluo in front of it with a shocked expression. A titled Douluo. Meng Shunji wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth and asked, May I know why you came to our academy? The frenzy Rhino Douluo extended his hand and flicked a letter into the dream god machine's hand. Your Majesty, what is the meaning of this? The dream god machine was a little confused. This titled Douluo attacked him the moment he came in and made him spit out blood. What's the meaning of this letter? It's obvious that this is a letter of challenge. My young master heard that there are many talents in Heaven Do Imperial Academy, and he wants to have an exchange with your academy. Please don't reject him. A letter of challenge? The dream god machine's face twitched when he saw the 3 words on the letter. Isn't he just here to challenge us? It's just a challenge with our academy's students. Why did he come in and beat me up? What's going on? The frenzy rhino Douluo seemed to understand the dream god machine's thoughts. I wanted to talk to you nicely, but I was afraid that you wouldn't listen. I had no choice but to beat you up first. I think you'll listen to me with my fist, right? The dream god machine was speechless. All right, I've delivered the letter. I'll take my leave first. Remember the time, it's 3 days from now. I'll give you 3 days to prepare. My young master's strength isn't ordinary. Don't let your academy's students be defenseless. Our young master will be unhappy if that happens. If he's unhappy, I'll be unhappy too. You'll be the unlucky ones then, the frenzy rhino Douluo said. You. The dream god machine was so angry that his beard was trembling. Haha. The frenzy rhino Douluo laughed and turned to leave. The dream god machine's face darkened as he watched the frenzy rhino Douluo leave. He opened the letter and saw Lu Yuan's letter of challenge. Huang Long. What a Huang Long. How arrogant. Dream Shinji shouted angrily. After a while, he regained his composure and said, we still need to find those 2 old men and discuss this matter with them. If we're not careful, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy might really be destroyed. Furthermore, a titled Douluo is too strong. The 3 of us have to work together to barely fight him. I'm still a little weak alone, the dream god machine muttered to himself. What he didn't know was that this matter had already spread like wildfire across the entire Heaven Do Imperial City. It was no longer just a matter of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, it had already attracted the attention of many other powers. The Crown Prince's residence. Chihiro Snow held a pen in his hand as he listened to the Snake Spear Douluo's report. It seems like this bastard has already made his move. I'll send an invitation to that cheap teacher of mine then. As he spoke, he picked up his pen and started to read. The prince's residence. Prince Xuexing was hugging a beautiful woman with his left hand as he listened to the report. The Great Soul Arena's purple gold warrior, Huang Long, has challenged the Heaven Do Imperial Academy alone. Even the Dream God Machine was beaten to a pulp. Haha, interesting. Go and find out who this Huang Long is. Prince Xuexing ordered. The prince's residence. Avalanche stretched his body and held his waist. He had overexerted himself earlier and couldn't regain his senses. Someone challenged the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. He even beat the Dream God Machine to a pulp. Interesting. I want to see how my brother is going to deal with this. Avalanche chuckled. He also had ambition in his heart, but it had always been suppressed by Qian Renxue and could not be released. Setting Sun Forest. Beside the icefire yin-yang well, Du Gubo stretched his back and looked at his hair, which seemed to have turned even greener. He sighed softly. It was getting harder and harder to suppress the poison in his body now. I haven't seen Yang Yang in a long time. Since I have nothing to do, why don't I go to the Heaven Do Empire to see her? Yes. It's decided then, Du Gubo muttered. After all, ever since his son and daughter-in-law died, he only had one granddaughter, Yang Yang. I heard that someone is challenging the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. I want to see what's going on. I can bully others, but if he dares to bully my Yang Yang, I won't let him off. As he spoke, he disappeared in a flash. Chapter 176. The Seven Treasures Glazed Sect. Ning Fengji read the letter with a smile on his face. Fengji, what are you so engrossed in looking at? Beside Ning Fengji, an old man with white hair and a beard, and his entire body emitted a strand of fierce sword insight, asked. Uncle Jian, Qing he sent a letter saying that a purple golden warrior soul badge holder called the Emperor Dragon challenged the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. The person he sent to deliver the letter beat up the Dream God Machine's chief disciple, then left after leaving behind a letter of challenge. Qing he said that the battle could be very interesting, So he asked me to go and take a look. Heaven Do Imperial Academy? The old man was none other than the sword Douluo, one of the two titled Douluo of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect. A trace of disdain appeared in his eyes. I don't think the Heaven Do Imperial Academy has many capable students. They're going to lose miserably this time. Not necessarily. The Heaven Do Imperial Academy does have a few geniuses. For example, that kid from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect is pretty good. They also have some high-level students. But I'm more interested in the person with the purple gold badges. According to Ching his description, that young man can't be older than 13 years old. It's incredible that he's able to obtain a purple golden warrior soul at such a young age, Ning Fengji exclaimed. So, Fengji, you want to go and take a look? The sword Douluo asked. Yes, it's rare for a prodigy like him to appear. How can I not go and take a look? Also, I can see if there's a chance to pull him into our Seven Treasures Glazed sect. We're in need of talents like him. Ning Fengji smiled. Yes. The sword Douluo nodded. Suddenly, he thought of something and said, Fengji, don't forget that the person he sent to deliver the letter beat up the Dream God machine. He's probably a titled battle pet warrior. How can someone like him not have a force to back him up? Ning Fengji frowned. It's hard to say now. Let's go and take a look first. Besides, even if he already has a sect, it won't stop us from befriending him. It's always good to have one more friend, not to mention a talented one. That's not a bad idea. The sword Douluo agreed. Fengji, when do we set off? The sword Douluo asked. Their match is scheduled for 3 days. 1 day has already passed. Let's set off tomorrow. Ning Fengji said. All right. The sword Douluo replied. At this moment, a little girl in a green dress snuck in. She had a pair of bright and lively eyes, skin as white as jade, and a pretty oval face. She was a rare little beauty. Daddy, Grandpa Jian, are you guys going out to play? Rongrong wants to go too. Ning Rongrong blinked her big bright eyes and said coquettishly. Rongrong, come, give Daddy a hug. Ning Fengji smiled as he looked at his talented daughter. If Dad agrees to let Rongrong go with you, then Rongrong will let you hold him. Otherwise, Rongrong won't let you hold him. Ning Rongrong pouted. Ning Fengji and sword Douluo exchanged a smile, and sword Douluo said, Rongrong, let Grandpa Jian give you a hug. Grandpa Jian will take you there. Grandpa Jian, you're the best. Rongrong loves you the most. Ning Rongrong smiled as she leapt into the sword Douluo's arms. She even tiptoed and kissed him on the cheek. The sword Douluo was overjoyed. Ning Fengji shook his head. Uncle Jian still dotes on Rongrong so much. However, he couldn't help it. His daughter was so cute, and he doted on her too. Star Blue Hotel. Lu Yuan rubbed the star ring in his hand and asked, How's the situation? The frenzy Rhino Douluo said, The news has been spread. The various powers should know about it by now, and they should be paying attention to it. Not bad. Lu Yuan said. Young Master Yuan, there's something I don't understand. The frenzy Rhino Douluo said. Speak. Is Ning Fengji worth us making such a big fuss over? The frenzy Rhino Douluo asked. He was a little confused. There were many ways to befriend Ning Fengji. There was no need to make such a big fuss. Lu Yuan's expression didn't change as he said, This time, we're not just trying to befriend Ning Fengji. This is only one of our main goals. I also want to use this opportunity to interact with the top powers in Heaven Do Imperial City. Some of them can be subdued. It's beneficial to get to know them in advance. It's better than befriending them one by one. Instead of taking the initiative, why don't we let them come to us? I believe that many people will be willing to befriend me when I reveal my talent. This way, won't we be able to get to know most of them? Lu Yuan said. What was the most important thing to the various powers right now? It was strength. The most powerful people. The 3 upper sects were still standing, and the martial Soul Palace transcended the continent. It was because they had the most powerful people, titled Douluo. Now, a powerful person who was suspected to be a titled Douluo and a young genius who had a chance of becoming a titled Douluo had appeared at the same time. How could the various powers not be tempted? Who wouldn't want their own sect to rise to the next level and become one of the 4 upper sects? Even if they couldn't obtain them, they could still befriend them and pull some strings. Then, they could ruin other people's attempts to rope them in. Wouldn't that be perfect? Young Master Yuan is indeed farsighted. No wonder you wanted me to injure the Dream God's machine that day. It turns out that you had such a plan. Impressive, truly impressive. However, the Dream God's machine supports the young miss. What will happen to the young miss if I injure it? The frenzy Rhino Douluo asked. Haha, not only won't Cher not be angry, she'll even thank me. First, although the Dream God's machine supports Little Snow, it supports the identity of Xue Qinghe, not the martial Soul Palace's holy maiden Chihiro Snow. It's still loyal to Emperor Xue Yi, and these powers that are loyal to the Heaven Do Empire will be eradicated sooner or later. Second, the more the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's reputation is tarnished, the better. I believe that the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's prestige will be weakened if their leader is beaten up. Why? The young miss is in charge of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. If the Dream God's machine is beaten up too badly, won't it implicate the young miss? The frenzy Rhino Douluo asked. No, you're only looking at the surface. Although Cher is in charge of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, she's only been in charge for a short while. Before that, Prince Xuexing was in charge. If the Heaven Do Imperial Academy loses badly, the first person to be slapped in the face would be Emperor Xue Yi. After all, he's the dean of the academy. Emperor Xue Yi will definitely be enraged. He'll naturally blame the person in charge of the academy. However, Cher has only been in charge for a short while. Even if he wants to blame someone, he can't blame Cher. With Cher's intelligence, she can easily push all the blame onto Prince Xuexing. Emperor Xue Yi will definitely vent his anger on Prince Xuexing. This way, he can further suppress Prince Xuexing. At the very least, his impression of Xuexing will be lowered. Chapter 177. After that, Cher will take the initiative and request to reorganize Heaven Do Imperial Academy. The Snowy Night Emperor will definitely agree. As long as the Snowy Night Emperor relinquishes his authority, then Cher will have a chance to truly control Heaven Do Imperial Academy, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Isn't that perfect? Lu Yuan revealed a faint smile. Brilliant. Truly brilliant. I thought that young Master Yuan was only going to challenge them, the infernal Rhino Douluo said. Ha. Lu Yuan's lips curled into a smile. If it was purely to attract attention, then I could have challenged any of the 4 elemental academies. Why would I challenge Heaven Do Imperial Academy? I won't do something that doesn't benefit me. Therefore, not only do I want to win this tournament, but I also want Heaven Do Imperial Academy to suffer a crushing defeat. Lu Yuan said plainly. If I don't slap his face until it's swollen, how will he know pain? Young Master Yuan's plan is brilliant. The infernal Rhino Douluo praised. But you didn't inform young mistress about this. Will she be able to react in time? Hearing this, Lu Yuan smiled faintly. If she can't react in time, then she won't be the Cher I know. She's much smarter than you think. That's true, the infernal Rhino Douluo nodded. Young mistress is naturally much smarter than me. I'll just do my job quietly. Young Master Yuan and young mistress should worry about things like using their brains. If there's nothing else, then please have a good rest. I'll take my leave. The infernal Rhino Douluo said. Okay. Lu Yuan nodded. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed as he watched the infernal Rhino Douluo leave. Actually, there was something he didn't say. In fact, he had another motive. That was to weaken the Snowy Night Emperor's authority and raise Chihiro Snow's reputation at the same time. The Heaven Do Imperial Academy represented the face of the imperial family. If it was defeated, it would be the same as trampling on the imperial family's face. Emperor Xue Yi would be the one to lose the most face. If Chihiro Snow managed to make the academy flourish, then her reputation would soar. The Snowy Night Emperor, this old thing, had always held the military power in his hands and had no intention of letting go. Although according to the progress of the original work, Cher might have already poisoned him, Lu Yuan did not mind adding fuel to the fire. When the Snowy Night Emperor's prestige was declining and Chihiro Snow's prestige was rising, then at a certain point, even if the Snowy Night Emperor didn't want to give up his power, he would have no choice. Of course, this matter alone was far from enough, but this was only the beginning. He would use his own methods to make Chihiro Snow's path much smoother. As for whether or not Cher would understand his painstaking efforts, he believed that this exquisite beauty with a heart of gold was the one who had the most chemistry with him. His efforts would not be in vain. Cher. Lu Yuan sighed softly. Crown Prince's mansion. Chihiro Snow played with the pen in her hand. The news of Lu Yuan challenging the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy had already spread like wildfire in Heaven-Do Imperial City, but she felt that this matter was not as simple as it seemed. Lu Yuan, that stinking bastard, definitely wasn't just trying to attract Ning Fengji's attention. He definitely had other plans. At the time, Lu Yuan had only mentioned it briefly, but she hadn't reacted. Now that she thought about it carefully, there was more to it. Chihiro Snow lightly tapped her chin as she thought about Lu Yuan's style of doing things. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. So that's how it is. Chihiro Snow analyzed carefully. She finally understood what Lu Yuan was trying to do. Not only did he want to get acquainted with Ning Fengji, but he also wanted to get acquainted with the upper echelons of the various major powers. More importantly, he wanted to weaken Prince Xuexing's position in the Snow Night Emperor's heart. At the same time, he wanted to create an opportunity for himself to take control of the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy. Perhaps he also wanted to raise his own reputation. This guy, a simple challenge actually involved so many things. If I didn't know this guy's personality and methods of doing things, I might not have thought of this. However, this guy even wanted to help me with a challenge. Chihiro Snow's heart felt warm. But if he had so many intentions, why didn't he tell me? Chihiro Snow muttered to herself. That's right, he believed that I would be able to see through his thoughts. That's why he didn't say anything. This guy, does he really trust me that much? Chihiro Snow muttered. Chihiro Snow's beautiful eyes held a smile. This feeling of being trusted was pretty good. Stinking brat. Chihiro Snow's hand flashed as she looked at the exquisite golden fox fur coat in her hand. A trace of a smile appeared on her face as she gently caressed it. I really do miss this stinking brat. We just met 2 days ago. Chihiro Snow's soft murmur drifted through the empty study room. Heaven-Do Imperial Academy was very lively today because there was a competition that was going to be held here. Would the mysterious purple gold battle soul medallion win, or would the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy successfully defend their honor? Everyone was very curious. The Heaven-Do Imperial Academy's honor had already been beaten once. For example, a certain education committee member's dream god machine was beaten up in his own academy. So this is the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy. It's quite impressive. I wonder how strong the students are. A young girl in fiery red clothes with fiery red hair asked. Her voice carried a trace of battle intent. I think they're just SOSO. They definitely can't compare to your Blazing Fire Academy. Isn't that right, little sister Fire Dance? Next to the fiery red girl, a man in green clothes spoke up. Feng Xiaotian, why are you not with your Divine Wind Academy team? Why are you here? Next to Fire Dance, a muscular man in fiery red clothes spoke up. Brother Wu Shuang, you're treating me like an outsider. I, Feng Xiaotian, am not an outsider. Plus, the Divine Wind Academy guys are very self-aware. They don't need me to lead the team. Feng Xiaotian laughed. Hua Wushuang rolled his eyes. Who doesn't know that Feng Xiaotian has bad intentions towards his sister? What a thick skin. However, Hua Wushuang didn't object. After all, Feng Xiaotian's talent and strength weren't bad. He was a good match for his sister. Unfortunately, his sister wasn't interested in him. Oh, is that the Thunder Academy and Skywater Academy? Hua Wushuang glanced over and looked at the girl in the lead. That girl should be the captain of the Skywater Academy team, Shui Bing. I've heard that her martial soul is a top-grade ice attribute martial soul, the Ice Phoenix. No matter how strong Shui Bing is, she can't be stronger than our little sister Fire Dance. Don't you think so, little sister Fire Dance? Feng Xiaotian began to flatter again. However, his words were completely for the air. Fire Dance didn't even respond to him. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Chapter 178. Shui Bing. Fire Dance's eyes were filled with battle intent as she looked at the distant Shui Bing. Both of them were rare geniuses and neither of them would submit to the other. As if sensing Fire Dance's gaze, Shui Bing also looked over. The two women's gazes met and sparks seemed to burst in the air. Shui Bing had blue hair and was dressed in blue clothes. She had a pair of sapphire-like eyes and an oval face with a trace of coldness. She was also a beauty. Captain. Noticing the look in her eyes, a girl beside Shui Bing called out softly. It's fine, Shui Wu. Let's go. Shui Bing retracted her gaze from Fire Dance and continued forward. Fire Dance retracted her gaze and turned to continue forward. Sister Fire Dance, there's still Thunder Academy. Don't you want to take a look? Feng Xiaotian asked with a smile. What's there to look at? A bunch of stinky men. Fire Dance snorted and walked away. Feng Xiaotian and Hua Wushuang looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. They were really shot even when they were lying down. Qinghe, it seems like it's quite lively here today. Ning Fengji was accompanied by the disguised Chihiro Snow. Behind Ning Fengji was a silver-haired old man with a fierce aura. It was the sword Douluo. The sword Douluo was holding the hand of a young lady in green clothes. She was the little witch of the Seven Treasures glazed sect, Ning Rongrong. Yes. Chihiro Snow sighed after hearing Ning Fengji's words. Qinghe, do you think Heaven Do Imperial Academy can win today's competition? Chihiro Snow pretended to shake his head regretfully and said with a bleak tone, Sigh, I'm afraid the chances of winning are very small. Oh. Ning Fengji smiled. Didn't the Emperor leave Heaven Do Imperial Academy to you to manage? Why do you have so little confidence in your own academy? Qian Runshu sighed and said, although father has handed this academy over to me to manage, the truth is that it used to be managed by that uncle of mine. I just took over not long ago, and the academy is still in a state of decay and is riddled with holes. I have the heart but am powerless. So that's how it is. Ning Fengji glanced at Qian Renxue. Was He just expressing his dissatisfaction, or was he trying to take control of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy? If so, should I give him a hand? No, this matter still depends on the great emperor's opinion. Although Qinghe is outstanding, he is still only the crown prince. The great emperor is still the ruler of the empire. Our Seven Treasures glazed sect cannot casually make a move. Ning Fengji thought. Qinghe, how much do you know about that emperor dragon? Ning Fengji asked again. Upon hearing this, Chihiro Snow was taken aback. A strange look flashed across his eyes as he replied, I don't know much about him. I only know that he won 30 consecutive battles in the Heaven Do Great Soul Arena last month and advanced to the Purple Gold Soul Power realm. 30 consecutive victories? Ning Fengji's face had a hint of surprise. That's right. I heard that he's challenging someone of a higher rank than him, Chihiro Snow added. Hiss. Ning Fengji sucked in a breath of cold air. Only a peerless genius could achieve such a feat. Ning Fengji was becoming more and more interested in Lu Yuan. Qinghe, do you know his name? This Emperor Dragon should be a code name, right? Ning Fengji asked. Qinghe doesn't know either. This person is very cold and doesn't like to interact with others. Moreover, he seems to be biased against the imperial family. I sent people to recruit him, but I didn't even get to meet him. Chihiro Snow said honestly. Oh. Ning Fengji looked at Shui Qinghe in surprise. He didn't expect that Shui Qinghe had already thought of recruiting him. He was becoming more and more like a wise ruler. This brat probably wrote a letter to me because he saw that it was impossible to recruit that young man. So he wants to borrow the strength of the Seven Treasures glazed sect. His methods are becoming more and more skillful. Ning Fengji thought. He was impressed by this cheap disciple of his. It seemed that Xue Qinghe had learned a lot from him. Aren't those the three leaders of the Dream Divine Machine? Ning Fengji looked at the three old men in the distance. Beside them were a dozen young men and women. They should be the geniuses of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. In front of them was a square, and a huge arena had been built in the square. Meng Xinji looked at the young men and women with satisfaction. All of them were soul exalts, and the older ones were soul ancestors by the age of 25. For the sake of victory, Meng Xinji didn't care if it was fair or not. Victory was the most important thing. As for the fact that they were older than Lu Yuan by a dozen years, the Dream Divine Machine didn't care about that. Furthermore, the Continental Youth Soul Master Tournament only allowed those under the age of 25. It wasn't too excessive for him to be this old. I wonder when that arrogant bastard will come. He dares to challenge our Heaven Do Imperial Academy. I don't think he'll dare to come, one of the young men said with a cynical look on his face. Yu Feng, don't speak nonsense. That person has a violet gold emblem. He's definitely a strong opponent, a sturdy man in white robes said. Tianheng is right. Yu Feng, don't underestimate him. A woman with long green hair and a waist like a water snake glared at the man called Yu Feng and said, "All right, it's my fault. But I don't think he'll win. There are so many of us here, and there are even a few seniors here. If he dares to come, he'll lose for sure." That's true. Yu Tianheng nodded. That's right. Even boss says so. Hihi, when that guy comes, Yu Feng, will go test him out. It'll be good to scout the path for you. Yu Feng laughed. All right, I'll leave it to you, Yu Tianheng said. But with so many people gathered here, I wonder when that arrogant bastard will come, Yu Tianheng said. On Ning Fengji's side, Qian Renshua looked at the various forces that had almost all arrived, including Prince Xuexing and Avalanche, who wanted to see her make a fool of herself. Qian Renshua's lips curled into a smile. After today, let's see if you can still laugh. Laughing at me? No, the unlucky ones will be you. But smelly bastard, it's about time for you to come. Chihiro Snow muttered to herself as she looked at the entrance of Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Ding! You have entered Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Time limit, 3 minutes. Accompanied by a gentle breeze, Lu Yuan's figure floated out of thin air in front of everyone's eyes. Chapter 179. He was dressed in white, and his black hair was draped over his shoulders. He had a pair of mysterious and noble eyes, and his face was like jade. This was a young man who was like an immortal. Lu Yuan's expression didn't change under the gazes of everyone. He still had an indifferent look on his face. He tapped his feet lightly, and his body moved forward quickly. His posture was elegant, and he was like a proud phoenix. Lu Yuan landed gently on the stage with his hands behind his back. A gentle breeze blew, and his clothes fluttered. What an extraordinary young master. This is Huang Long. Ning Fengji had a look of surprise on his face. What an extraordinary aura. This kid is not ordinary. He's handsome and has an immortal aura. This is the first time I've seen such a young man in my life. The sword Douluo's tone carried a trace of surprise. Uncle Jian, did you see that young man's movement technique just now? Ning Fengji's eyes flashed as he suddenly asked. Yes. This movement technique is ethereal and very mysterious. I think it should be a profound self-created soul skill. The sword Douluo was a titled Douluo after all, and he could see the profundity of Lu Yuan's Phoenix Dance's 6 illusory illusions at a glance. Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan, and there was a strange light in the depths of her eyes. This rascal, no matter where he goes, he's the center of attention. However, he's her man. Chihiro Snow felt very happy in her heart. So handsome. Beside Ning Fengji, the little girl Ning Rongrong's eyes were shining. Lu Yuan's appearance was the best in the world, and it was very difficult to find someone in the entire Douluo continent who could compare to him. Such an appearance was very lethal to a little girl like Ning Rongrong. Oh! Ning Fengji's eyes turned, and he said, Rongrong, Do you like this big brother? Why don't I introduce you to this big brother later? Looking at his daughter, Ning Fengji had a bold idea. Okay. Ning Rongrong smiled and clapped her hands. Upon hearing Ning Fengji's words, Chihiro Snow, who was standing at the side, glanced at Ning Rongrong's tender little face and flat chest without a trace, and a trace of mockery emerged from the depths of her eyes. She knew that stinking fellow the best. Although he was young, he was extremely mature, and he wouldn't like such an ordinary existence. Ning Fengji's plan was doomed to fail. A strange smile appeared on Ning Fengji's face as he looked at his beautiful daughter. Heaven Do Imperial Academy's team. He is the Emperor Dragon? That person who wants to challenge him has an extraordinary bearing. Yu Tianheng said indifferently in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. He looks alright, but I wonder how strong he is. Yu Feng giggled. Imperial Wind, don't be careless. This person's temperament is top-notch. His movement technique just now is also extraordinary. A woman with green hair and a waist like a water snake said. Sister Yang, aren't you overestimating him? I don't think he's that good-looking. Could it be that you're tempted because he's handsome? Boss is still here. Yu Feng said. Damned Yu Feng, what nonsense are you talking about? Dugu Yang's face had a trace of blush as she said to Yu Tianheng, Tianheng, don't listen to Yu Feng's nonsense. Yanzi, I believe in you. Yu Tianheng said with a gentle smile, then he fiercely glared at Yu Feng. This Yu Feng, he dared to make any kind of joke. One must know that he had just chased after Dugu Yang not long ago, and there were still many things that he hadn't done yet. If Yu Feng's joke caused a gap between him and Yanzi, then it would be too late for regrets. However, Yu Tianheng thought about it in his heart. When he thought about Dugu Yang's blushing face, he knew that Yanzi would have a good impression of that guy on the stage. After all women liked handsome guys. He had always considered himself as a handsome guy, but after seeing Lu Yuan's immortal face today, he finally understood what a handsome guy was. When I get on the stage later, I'll definitely punch that guy's face a few more times. Why is a man so handsome? Yu Tianheng thought to himself. Heavenly Water Academy. Sister, he's so handsome. At the place where the Heavenly Water Academy's people were, a blue-haired girl beside Shui Bing'er exclaimed. She looked in the direction of Lu Yuan, and her eyes were filled with little stars. You don't look like a love-struck fool, okay? Shui Bing'er helplessly rubbed her forehead. She looked at the elegant Lu Yuan on the stage and said in a low voice, but he's really handsome. Blazing Academy's location. Damn, there's actually such a handsome guy in this world. Feng Xiaotian moved closer to Fire Dance and looked at Lu Yuan on the stage with a trace of disbelief on his face. Obviously, he was shocked by Lu Yuan's appearance. So what if he's handsome? The key is still strength. Fire Dance said indifferently. Yes, Sister Fire Dance is right. As a man, the most important thing is still strength. Feng Xiaotian laughed. Fortunately, his sister Fire Dance didn't like handsome guys and only liked the strong. He, Feng Xiaotian, was very strong. As he thought about it, stars flickered in Feng Xiaotian's eyes. Thunder Academy, Prince Xuexing, Dream Shinji lightly leapt into the air and stepped onto the stage. Looking at the pharaoh-like young man in front of him, he had to admit that this young man's temperament was the best he had ever seen in his life. Little brother, are you Huang Long? Lu Yuan's age was definitely not older than 13. Dream Shinji could see some clues from Lu Yuan's youthful face. Yes. Lu Yuan nodded. How do you want to compete? Dream Shinji asked. Although the young man in front of him had an extraordinary temperament, Dream Shinji didn't think that his academy would lose. At 13 years old, he was at most a soul grandmaster. At most, he would be a soul elder. In his team, there was more than one soul ancestor. Thus, Dream Shinji felt that he could let Lu Yuan decide the method of competition. It would also show the magnanimity of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. They weren't people who bullied others. Up to you. Lu Yuan glanced at the 10 or so young men and women below the stage. I don't care if you come up one by one or all at once. Arrogant. Yu Feng blurted out after being looked down upon by Lu Yuan. Yu Tianheng narrowed his eyes as anger burned in his heart. This Huang Long didn't put them in his eyes at all. Du Yang's green eyes flashed with anger. This guy is handsome, but isn't he a little too arrogant? The entire Heaven Do Imperial Academy was infuriated by Lu Yuan's words. Everyone was riled up. How arrogant. I wonder if he has the ability or if he only knows how to spout nonsense. Prince Xuexing's eyes flashed with interest. Today's events were getting more and more interesting. Isn't this a little too arrogant? Ning Fengji's mouth was wide open. He didn't think that Huang Long would be so arrogant. His impression of Huang Long dropped a little. He might not be arrogant, but he might be bold. Sword Douluo narrowed his eyes. He seemed to see something unusual about this kid. Chapter 180. Arrogant. Lu Yuan flicked his finger. Whether I'm arrogant or not, we'll know once we fight. Lu Yuan looked at the students from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy with disdain. The strongest among them was only an early-stage soul ancestor, and he was already 25 years old. The Heaven Do Imperial Academy really was on the decline. If Bai Yunfei were to go all out, he'd be able to take on a soul king. A mere early-stage soul ancestor was nothing more than a walk in the park. He'd been looking forward to the fight, but now he was disappointed. The strongest students from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy were probably Yu Tianheng and the others. Unfortunately, they were only early-stage soul exalts in their 30s, so Lu Yuan wasn't interested in fighting them. The only person in the younger generation that could beat him was Chihiro Snow. But Chihiro Snow was his woman, so Bai Yunfei had nothing to fear. Fine. Meng Shunji suppressed his anger and turned around. Which student would like to come up and spar with this brother Huang Long? The old man's temper had always been relatively amiable, but when he saw Lu Yuan's indifferent attitude, he could not help but feel anger rising in his heart. I'll do it. Yu Feng raised his hand excitedly. Yu Feng, be careful. Yu Tianheng was furious at Lu Yuan's disdainful attitude, but he was still able to keep his cool. I will, boss. Yu Feng nodded his head and stepped onto the stage. Huang Long, is it? I'll let you know the consequences of looking down on the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Yu Feng glared at Lu Yuan with anger in his eyes. Lu Yuan glanced at him and asked the Dream Shunji, can we begin? The Dream Shunji looked at the two. The match is about to begin. I'll announce the rules. First, you're not allowed to injure your opponent. Second, you're not allowed to use. Before the Dream Shunji could finish, Lu Yuan cut him off. Enough with the nonsense. Let's begin. I'll go easy on him, I won't kill him, Lu Yuan said. Even though the Dream God Machine had a good temper, it couldn't help but want to explode. Lu Yuan's words were simply too infuriating, and it immediately unleashed its Soul Douluo aura. Just as the Dream God Machine was about to release its aura, a pair of eyes behind Lu Yuan stared at the Dream God Machine. Instantly, the Dream God Machine broke out in cold sweat. It was the frenzied Rhino Douluo. The Dream Shunji's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately retracted his aura. With a titled Douluo protecting him, the Dream Shunji didn't dare to make a move. Looking at the Dream God Machine's expression, Lu Yuan's eyes flickered. Was this old man trying to pressure him? Bullying the weak? Interesting, very interesting. I'll make your Heaven Do Imperial Academy lose even more miserably. Lu Yuan's lips curled into a sneer. Ding. Mission completed. Reward issued. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a random titled Douluo card. Would you like to use it? Just as Lu Yuan was deep in thought, the system's voice suddenly sounded. System, if I use the card, will there be any abnormalities? Lu Yuan asked. No. After the host uses the card, the selected character will appear within 1,000 meters of the host. It won't attract anyone's attention. The system's cold voice sounded. Is that so? Then let's do it. Yes. Beginning drawing. Drawing complete. Congratulations to the host for obtaining. So it's him. This is going to be interesting. Seeing the name of the selected person, Lu Yuan was secretly delighted. With this person here, Even if he were to tear down the Heaven Do Imperial Academy today, no one would be able to do anything to him. In a corner of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, an old man slowly appeared. "Is the Lord over there?" Looking at the sea of people not far away, the old man's figure silently disappeared. "Begin." The dream, Shinji shouted. His figure suddenly disappeared and reappeared outside the stage. Imperial Wind, Martial Soul Windchime Bird, rank 31 Agility Type Soul Master. It wasn't even 2 years later. When Yu Feng appeared in the original story, he was only a rank 36 Soul Elder, but right now, he had only just become a Soul Elder. Looking at Yu Feng in front of him, Lu Yuan did not have the slightest intention of reporting his level. He said faintly, "Let's begin." Imperial Wind was extremely angry at Lu Yuan's actions. It was etiquette for Soul Masters to report their ranks in a battle. Unless one party didn't put the other in their eyes and wasn't afraid of the other party's revenge in the future, they wouldn't ignore the other party's report. And yet, Lu Yuan did this. Imperial Wind was furious because this was a form of humiliation to him. In reality, Lu Yuan did this on purpose. In order to carry out his plan perfectly, he needed to infuriate the Heaven Do Imperial Academy and then defeat them when they went all out. Thus, when Lu Yuan went up on stage today, he appeared cold and arrogant as if he didn't put them in his eyes at all. Although Lu Yuan didn't consider them his opponents, in his heart, he didn't think of them as his opponents. And by the way, Lu Yuan felt that this kind of behavior of reporting each other's levels before a fight was a little martial soul possession. Imperial Wind shouted. His martial soul was a windchime bird, an agility-type martial soul that excelled in speed. Under the possession of his martial soul, Yu Feng's hands became a little sharp, like the claws of a bird. A pair of wings grew out of his body, which was something that all bird-type soul beasts had. 2 yellow and 1 purple soul rings slowly surfaced beneath Yu Feng's body. First soul skill, Piercing Blade. The front edges of Imperial Wind's wings became as sharp as blades. His body rushed forward, whistling through the air as he rushed towards Lu Yuan. Seeing Imperial Wind's attack, Lu Yuan's expression didn't change. He directly punched out. "You're courting death. You actually dare to take on Imperial Wind's first soul skill without using your martial soul," Yu Tianheng said. Hearing this, Dugu Yang nodded. Even a soul ancestor wouldn't dare to not use their martial soul when facing a soul elder like Imperial Wind. This youth is too arrogant. Ning Fengji shook his head. He didn't know what to say. Even he didn't dare to believe that the young man in front of him could obtain a violet gold emblem without using his martial soul. He had both talent and strength, but he was a little too arrogant. Rongrong actually thinks that handsome big brother will win. Ning Rongrong laughed. Her eyes were filled with splendor as she looked at Lu Yuan's upright figure. Hearing this, Ning Fengji shook his head. Rongrong was still too young. She didn't understand what kind of strength was needed to take on a soul elder's soul skill without using his martial soul. This was something that even a soul ancestor might not be able to do. He didn't believe that the youth on the stage had the strength to surpass an ordinary soul ancestor. After all, no matter how monstrous a person was, there was still a limit. The look in Qian Renshue's eyes did not change at all. No one knew better than her the strength of this bastard in front of her. He was someone who even she could faintly sense danger from. Furthermore, her martial soul was a god-ranked 6-winged angel martial soul and her level was already at rank 49. Compared to her, what was Yu Feng below? Chapter 181. Looking at Lu Yuan's light punch, Yu Feng's face revealed a trace of mockery. Following that, he was filled with anger. The guy in front of him was too arrogant and looked down on him too much. His soul power circulated faster, and the tips of his wings became even sharper. Yu Feng's mouth curled into a sinister smile. He could almost see the scene of his wings cutting Lu Yuan's fist in half. Heh. Seeing Yu Feng's expression, Lu Yuan laughed lightly. His golden dragon's bloodline started to circulate, and his entire fist suddenly emitted an intense golden light. Wherever his fist went, there was a burst of air. Not good. Yu Feng was the closest, and he instantly felt a strong sense of threat coming from the fist in front of him. The might of the fist made his heart jump. Third soul skill, Surging Storm. Yu Feng hurriedly activated his 1000-year soul skill. A layer of green soul power instantly surged in front of his body, and then heavily smashed towards Lu Yuan. Why did Yu Feng suddenly use his third soul skill? Du Yang was a little puzzled as she asked. Facing Lu Yuan's simple punch, Yu Feng actually used his third soul skill. Was this brat's brain damaged? Du Yang wasn't the only one who was puzzled. Many of the students present couldn't understand Yu Feng's actions. Something's not right. Yu Tianheng frowned. His intuition told him that Lu Yuan's fist, which was emitting a faint golden light, wasn't simple. Although his eyesight wasn't bad, he couldn't sense the enormous strength contained in Lu Yuan's fist across the stage. Of course, Yu Tianheng couldn't see it, and the majority of the people present couldn't see it either. Seeing the faint golden light emitting from Lu Yuan's fist, the sword Douluo's eyebrows twitched. He said indifferently, "The match is over, that youth won." Ning Fengji asked curiously, "Which youth?" "Emperor Dragon." The sword Douluo said. "It can't be." Ning Fengji couldn't believe it. That punch was clearly nothing special. "You're not a soul battle master, so you won't be able to sense the force behind that punch. It weighed over 5,000 kilograms, and I could even hear the sound of air exploding when that punch was unleashed." The sword Douluo said in an indifferent voice. Hiss. Ning Fengji sucked in a breath of cold air as he looked at the youth on the stage who was at most 13 years old. Such a young person actually had a strength of over 10,000 jin. It was really unbelievable. No wonder he was so arrogant. Now that he thought about it, it was not arrogance, but confidence in his strength. Just as Ning Fengji was sighing, Lu Yuan's fist had already collided with Imperial Wind's third and first soul skills. Bang! A huge explosion rang out. Lu Yuan's fist destroyed Yu Feng's 2 soul skills, and the remaining strength sent Yu Feng flying off the stage. PFFF. Yu Feng spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot and fainted. Imperial Wind. Du Yang cried out in alarm and quickly ran forward. Imperial Wind. Yu Tianheng also rushed forward. Yu Feng was his comrade, and now he was actually beaten to such a state. Hiss. A simple punch was able to destroy a soul elder's third soul skill and heavily injure him. All the students and teachers present sucked in a breath of cold air. What terrifying strength. One had to know that he hadn't even used the power of his martial soul. Huang Long, you've gone too far. It's just a competition, and you actually used such a heavy hand. Du Yang looked at the unconscious Yu Feng and shouted at Lu Yuan with a face full of indignation. Hearing this, Lu Yuan furrowed his brows and said, "He's fine. I held back at the end. At most, he'll be bedridden for a few days." "Really?" Du Yang asked. "I know best how much strength I use," Lu Yuan said indifferently. Although he came here to provoke and ruthlessly defeat Heaven Do Imperial Academy, he wasn't the kind of person who would casually injure someone he hadn't provoked. That wasn't in line with his personality. There wasn't any conflict of interest, so why would he casually kill someone? Although Yu Feng spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted, in reality, not a single rib was broken. This kind of control of strength was something he could do with his dual pupils, and his spiritual power greatly increased. He could already do it to the point of perfection. "Lingling, come take a look." Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Du Yang let out a sigh of relief. However, she was still a little worried and beckoned to Yi Lingling, who was beside her. Yi Lingling was a beautiful woman with a cold temperament. Her martial soul was the Nine-Hearted Begonia, an auxiliary-type martial soul that specialized in healing. Its healing ability was the best in the continent. Coming to Yu Feng's side, Yi Lingling released her martial soul. The light of the Nine-Hearted Begonia scattered, and Yu Feng quickly recovered. Du Yang relaxed. It seemed that Huang Long wasn't lying. Lu Yuan looked at their actions and said indifferently, "The next one can go on stage." Yu Tianheng and the others were stunned. Suddenly, 2 sturdy youths walked out from the group. "Boss, let us go." After hesitating for a moment, Yu Tianheng nodded. Yu Feng was blown apart by a single punch even when his opponent didn't possess his martial soul. The Shi brothers had higher soul power and stronger martial souls, but if one of them went up against Yu Feng, they would undoubtedly lose. If the two of them went up together, they would have a chance of winning. You don't mind if it's 2 against 1, right? Graphite's simple and honest face revealed a trace of a strange smile. It doesn't matter. Lu Yuan's indifferent voice came from the stage. Oh, it's 2 against 1 now? It seems that the people from Heaven Do Imperial Academy aren't confident of winning in a one-on-one fight. Ning Fengji rubbed his chin and said, "This brat's strength definitely surpasses that of a soul elder. If he goes up against him one-on-one, he'll just be delivering food. Yu Tianheng isn't stupid, so he naturally won't refuse," Sword Douluo said. "Then why don't they just send out a soul ancestor? Don't they have a soul ancestor?" Ning Rongrong asked with a puzzled expression. Ning Fengji smiled faintly, but didn't say anything. He turned his gaze to Chihiro Snow and asked, "Qinghe, what do you think?" Chihiro Snow smiled and said, "Because this Huang Long is too strong. Even their soul ancestor may not have a chance of winning. Right now, they're probably trying to exhaust this Huang Long's soul force. When his soul force runs out, it'll be time for their soul ancestors to step up. After all, it'll be much easier for a soul ancestor to win against a Huang Long who's almost out of soul force." Ning Fengji nodded and said, "Qinghe is right. This is what that brat Yu Tianheng is thinking. I didn't think that the dignified successor of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon would have to resort to such a scheme." There was a trace of sorrow in his voice. "That's because the brat on the stage is too strong. Yu Tianheng isn't confident in winning." Sword Douluo hit the nail on the head. "So that's how it is." Ning Rongrong nodded in realization and said, "This Yu Tianheng is too despicable. He's actually using such a shameless scheme." In Ning Rongrong's heart, she had already secretly marked Yu Tianheng as a despicable person. Ning Fengji and Sword Douluo helplessly shook their heads when they heard this. Chapter 182. Ning Fengji and the Sword Douluo shook their heads helplessly at Ning Rongrong's angry expression. Rongrong was still too young and naive. As long as they could obtain the final victory, so what if the process was a little dirty? The winner was king and the loser was a bandit. The process wasn't important, the result was the most important. People would only remember who the winner was, but they wouldn't pay attention to how you won. But even so, I'm afraid Yu Tianheng and the others won't be able to win, Chihiro Snow said. Ning Fengji and the Sword Douluo turned to Chihiro Snow at the same time. Chihiro Snow smiled when he saw the two of them looking at him. "I have a feeling that Huang Long isn't as simple as he seems." The Sword Douluo nodded. The youth on the stage exuded a mysterious aura. The outcome of today's battle wasn't certain yet. Moshe, Martial Soul Xuanwu Tortoise, rank 33 Defense Type Soul Elder. Shimo, Martial Soul Xuanwu Tortoise, rank 33 Defense Type Soul Elder. The Shi brothers spoke at the same time. "Lu Yuan, please enlighten me," Lu Yuan said. "Lu Yuan, is that Huang Long's real name?" Ning Fengji asked. "I think so," Chihiro Snow said. "Since they're willing to reveal their names, it seems like the brat has acknowledged their strength," Ning Fengji said. "It might not be their strength, but their personality," Qian Runxue said. "These Shi brothers seem to have a straightforward personality. Maybe the Emperor Dragon appreciates this kind of person." When it came to understanding Lu Yuan, there weren't many people who could compare to her. "That's possible." The Sword Douluo nodded. "Lu Yuan? Is that his real name?" Dugu Yang asked in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. "It should be their original names. It seems like the Shi brothers' strength has been recognized," Yu Tianheng said. He was also an arrogant person. Soul masters with dragon martial souls always had an inexplicable sense of pride, and he was the same. Therefore, he understood Lu Yuan. Only when the opponent's strength was worthy of their respect would they slightly restrain their arrogance. In his opinion, Lu Yuan was just like that. However, his thinking was wrong. Lu Yuan simply found these two outspoken young men pleasing to the eye. Such people were usually very simple-minded and simple-minded. Black tortoise? Lu Yuan murmured softly. Interesting. The black tortoise was also a peak existence among the beast martial spirits. It was not inferior to the blue lightning tyrant dragon. Their defensive power was actually quite terrifying. If the two of them joined hands, even Yu Tianheng would not be able to defeat them. However, their current opponent was Lu Yuan. Martial spirit possession, black tortoise. Black patterns began to crawl over their bodies, and hexagonal tortoiseshell began to appear on their bodies. 2 yellow and 1 purple soul rings appeared on the two brothers at the same time. Both of them were as heavy as a mountain. They were indeed top-notch defensive martial souls. Their defensive power was not bad at all. However, the tortoiseshell on their bodies gave Lu Yuan a strange feeling. Fortunately, his golden dragon armor was a diamond-shaped full-body armor, and not a tortoiseshell like the Shi brothers. Otherwise, he would not have been able to accept it. As he looked at the Shi brothers, Lu Yuan still had no intention of releasing his martial soul. The Shi brothers looked at each other and charged at Lu Yuan at the same time. Their gigantic physiques combined with their tortoiseshell made for a rather imposing sight. Ah! Lu Yuan shouted softly. His right foot lightly stomped on the ground, but it made a huge sound. A small hole was actually stomped on the stage. Lu Yuan's figure flashed, and he instantly closed in on the two brothers. Not good, he's too fast. Seeing Lu Yuan's figure rapidly closing in, the two brothers were shocked and had no time to react. Their first soul rings lit up at the same time, and a huge tortoiseshell appeared on their bodies. First soul skill, Black Tortoise Guard. A black light flashed, and the Black Tortoise Guard's effect increased defense by 150%. This was the power of a peak defensive martial soul, the Black Tortoise. Dong, dong. 2 consecutive sounds rang out, and the Graphite brothers were simultaneously pushed back more than 10 meters. However, they were still standing firm on the stage, and they did not seem to be injured at all. Lu Yuan looked at the two in surprise and said, Black Tortoise, not bad. Second soul skill, Shield Transformation. A trace of shock flashed through the eyes of the two brothers. They were actually pushed back more than 10 meters by a casual punch under the effect of the Black Tortoise Guard. This was the first time they had encountered such a situation since their debut. One had to know that even Yu Tianheng's blue lightning tyrant dragon could not easily push them back. However, the person in front of them had done it so easily. Their eyes were full of seriousness. Their second soul rings lit up at the same time, and a layer of black light flashed. The tortoiseshell on their chests and backs strangely separated and went to their hands, turning into 2 huge tortoiseshell shields with a diameter of 1 meter. The two of them shouted at the same time, and the 2 huge tortoiseshell shields flew out under their control, straight towards Lu Yuan. The tortoiseshell shields spun wildly in the air, and their fierce aura was undoubtedly revealed. The edges of the tortoiseshell were extremely sharp, and as it moved forward, it constantly cut through the air, emitting whistling sounds. The Shi brothers are serious. Yu Tianheng's face was serious. Even he would find it difficult to block this move of the Shi brothers. In fact, if it were 1 against 2, there was a high chance that he would lose to the two of them working together. Interesting. Lu Yuan's mind stirred, and a bright golden light burst forth. The golden dragon bloodline began to circulate, and dense golden scales began to drill out of his body. Both of his hands turned into golden dragon claws. This is dragon form? Seeing Lu Yuan's golden dragon claws, Yu Tianheng's eyes were full of disbelief. One had to know that dragon form was a skill unique to the blue lightning tyrant dragon, so how could this Lu Yuan also dragon form? More importantly, this person didn't even release his martial soul, yet he could dragon form? Dragon form? A trace of shock flashed through Ning Fengji's eyes. Isn't this a skill exclusive to the blue lightning tyrant dragon? How could this Lu Yuan also have dragon form? Teacher, this Lu Yuan's nickname is the Emperor Dragon. Chihiro Snow seemed to have seen through Ning Fengji's doubts, and said, yes, this Lu Yuan must also have a dragon martial soul, and he can dragon form without using his martial soul. This Lu Yuan's dragon martial soul must be very powerful, but I wonder how it compares to the blue lightning tyrant dragon? Ning Fengji asked. Chihiro Snow smiled faintly. That guy's golden dragon is on par with my six-winged angel. A mere blue lightning tyrant dragon is nothing. Of course, Chihiro Snow didn't say this out loud. Chapter 183. Dragon Form? Seeing Lu Yuan's golden dragon claw, the Shi brothers were shocked. They were Yu Tianheng's teammates, so how could they not know how powerful dragon form was? However, they were still confident. Dragon form was powerful, but their Xuanwu tortoise martial souls were not to be trifled with. Pale yellow soul force flowed from their hands as they controlled the tortoise shells in the air to attack Lu Yuan. Ha! Lu Yuan clenched his dragon claw into a fist and punched out. Invisible ripples appeared in the air as the powerful force hit the two tortoise shells and sent them flying away at the same time. Lu Yuan's figure leaped, his speed so fast that he left behind a series of afterimages. Even an agility-type soul master might not be able to keep up with his speed, let alone a defense-type martial soul like the Xuanwu tortoise, which was famous for its slow speed. Before they could react, the two of them were hit by Lu Yuan's fierce attack. The Xuanwu tortoise is not bad, but it's only not bad. The powerful fist hit the two of them in the chest, causing them to spit out blood and fly away. Only Lu Yuan's calm voice could be heard on the stage. Hiss. Hua Wushuang's eyes were filled with shock as he said, just dragon form is enough to defeat two soul elders with top-tier beast martial souls. Feng Xiaotian, are you sure you can beat this person? Feng Xiaotian looked at the gleam in Hua Wu's eyes and sighed. He smiled bitterly and said, I've always been confident in my own strength. However, if I were to face that guy on the stage, I wouldn't have any confidence at all. He hasn't even used his martial soul. Yes. Hua Wushuang nodded. Lu Yuan's strength was like a bottomless pit. Just the strength he had shown so far was far beyond his own. At the very least, he didn't have the confidence to beat the Shi brothers at the same time, let alone do it so casually like Lu Yuan. Two more students were defeated so easily that they couldn't even force out their martial souls. Dream Shinji's face was ashen, unparalleled strength and superhuman speed. This youth has almost no shortcomings. The sword Douluo said. Yes. Ning Fengji's eyes were filled with splendor. Now, he no longer felt that the young man in front of him was arrogant. This was a true peerless genius. Their seven treasures glazed sect lacked such geniuses. Looking at Ning Rongrong who was staring blankly at Lu Yuan, Ning Fengji once again revealed a strange smile. Tianheng, what do we do now? Dugu Yang asked Yu Tianheng. Yu Tianheng frowned slightly and said, now, only the two of us can go. If we still lose, then I'll have to trouble you three seniors. Yu Tianheng said to the three tall youths who had been silent since the beginning. Yes. The golden-haired young man in the lead nodded and said, go on. The Heaven Do Imperial Academy will definitely not lose with us here. Yu Tianheng nodded and walked up the stage with Dugu Yang. Yu Tianheng's face was very serious as he looked at Lu Yuan. After watching the previous battle, his fear of Lu Yuan had reached an extreme. If he were to face Lu Yuan alone, then he'd lose without a doubt. Even with Dugu Yang, he didn't have much confidence in winning. The only thing he wanted to do right now was to exhaust as much of Lu Yuan's soul force as possible so that the other three soul ancestors would have a chance to win. Yu Tianheng. Martial Soul, Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. Rank 34 Assault Type Soul Exalt. Dugu Yang. Martial Soul, Jade Phosphorus Snake. Rank 33 Control Type Soul Exalt. Yu Tianheng. Martial Soul, Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, right? Lu Yuan said to Yu Tianheng. Yes. Yu Tianheng nodded. He was very proud of his martial soul being the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. Then consider yourself unlucky. I hate Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragons the most. Lu Yuan's eyes flashed with coldness. If the Seven Treasures Glazed School was one of the upper three schools, then the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School and the Clear Sky School were two of the top three schools that he had to destroy. Furthermore, The Grandmaster that injured Bibidon was from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School. Even though the Grandmaster didn't give much pointers to him, Lu Yuan still learned a few things from him. Furthermore, he wasn't affected by the God-slaying spear, so even though he still didn't like Yu Tianheng, he wasn't going to kill him. However, Lu Yuan wasn't sure if someone else would kill Yu Tianheng later on. But Lu Yuan wasn't going to go easy on the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School. Furthermore, he already hated this school when he read the original novel, and now he hated them even more. Who asked their existence to make Bibi Dong feel very unhappy in his heart. Since they dared to make his beautiful teacher feel unhappy, he naturally wouldn't be happy in his heart. It wasn't a bad idea to play with Yu Tianheng today. What do you mean by this? Yu Tianheng furrowed his brow. Did this person have a grudge against the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragons? Nothing. I just don't like your Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragons, Lu Yuan replied. Yu Tianheng was infuriated as he yelled, "Martial spirit possession." A low dragon's roar sounded, and bluish-purple scales started to crawl over Yu Tianheng's arm. Dragon form was a skill unique to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragons. Yu Tianheng opened his arms, and the projection of a bluish-purple tyrant dragon appeared behind him. Streaks of bluish-purple lightning appeared on his body, and a powerful dragon's aura started to emanate. 2 yellow and 1 purple soul rings shone brightly beneath his body. Martial soul possession. Dugu Yang's martial soul was also instantly possessed. Her smooth legs turned into a snake's tail, and a faint green mist started to spread from her body. The jade-scaled snake martial soul was renowned for its venom. A cold smile appeared on Lu Yuan's face as he sensed Yu Tianheng's oppressive aura. A mere Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon? You're nothing but a grain of rice. Let me show you what a true dragon's might is. Martial soul possession, Lu Yuan shouted, and all eyes instantly focused on Lu Yuan. Under everyone's gazes, a sonorous dragon's roar filled the air. Almost all of the soul masters with beast souls felt their hearts tremble, as if they had encountered an absolute suppression in terms of rank. Dazzling golden light flashed, and golden scales appeared on both sides of Lu Yuan's cheeks. Golden dragon scales also covered his arms. A huge golden dragon projection appeared behind Lu Yuan, and 2 yellow and purple soul rings appeared beneath Lu Yuan's body. In the instant that Lu Yuan's golden dragon martial soul appeared, a vast aura filled the entire stage. Yu Tianheng's Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon seemed to have encountered something terrifying, and it immediately wilted. Even Yu Tianheng staggered and fell to his knees. It wasn't that he didn't want to get up, but that he couldn't. Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon? What a mess. Looking at Yu Tianheng's struggling figure, Lu Yuan shook his head lightly and his indifferent voice spread throughout the entire area. Chapter 184. If it were any other beast martial soul, it would still be controlled by the Golden Dragon, and it wouldn't be able to unleash its full strength. However, it wouldn't be so weak that it couldn't even retaliate. However, it was the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon that was facing Lu Yuan's Golden Dragon. There was no other way. Not only did Lu Yuan possess the Golden Dragon martial soul, but he also possessed the pure bloodline of a second-generation Golden Dragon. His suppression of dragons was unimaginable to others. Under this suppression, Yu Tianheng couldn't even unleash a soul skill, let alone win the match. The Golden Dragon martial soul's suppression on the Dragon Clan's martial soul was unimaginable. If there was anyone on the Douluo continent whose bloodline wasn't suppressed by him, it would be the Silver Dragon King. Other than her, even the #1 savage beast in the Great Star Do Forest, Di Tian, couldn't compare to Lu Yuan in terms of bloodline purity. As for Dugu Yang, she was a dragon, and her jade-scaled snake martial soul was still suppressed. Lu Yuan didn't even make a move. Just the suppression of his martial soul and bloodline was enough to immobilize Dugu Yang and Yu Tianheng. Lu Yuan was standing alone in the arena, while Yu Tianheng was half-kneeling on the ground. His right hand was pressed against the ground, and sweat was dripping from his forehead. Dugu Yang wasn't much better. Her face was pale, and there was a trace of fear. This was the natural suppression of martial souls. The Golden Dragon martial soul came from the Golden Dragon King, one of the two avatars of the dragon god. It possessed the purest dragon bloodline, and it wasn't ordinary. Furthermore, Lu Yuan was releasing the suppression of both his Golden Dragon martial soul and bloodline. The only reason Dugu Yang was still standing was because Lu Yuan had weakened the pressure around her. He was giving Dugu Bo face. After all, Dugu Bo was one of the targets he wanted to subdue. This. Ning Fengji stood up immediately, and there was a trace of astonishment on his face. Isn't Lu Yuan's martial soul a little too ridiculous? It seems a little too strong. It actually suppressed the blue lightning tyrant dragon to this extent. Just the suppression alone was enough to make Yu Tianheng, a soul elder with a top-tier martial soul, unable to fight. He couldn't even stabilize his body. And from the looks of it, even Dugu Yang was the same. What exactly is Lu Yuan's martial soul? Ning Fengji looked at the golden dragon behind Lu Yuan and said, "Could it be a golden holy dragon?" The sword Douluo shook his head and said, "I'm afraid it's not a golden holy dragon. It's a legendary golden dragon. Perhaps only a paramount dragon like the golden dragon would be able to suppress a blue lightning tyrant dragon to such an extent," the sword Douluo said. Hearing this, Ning Fengji came to a sudden realization and nodded. The golden holy dragon and golden dragon only differed by a single word, but in reality, they were two completely different existences. The golden holy dragon was the descendant of one of the 9 great dragon kings, while the golden dragon was the descendant of one of the dragon god's 2 avatars, the golden dragon king. Don't think that the gold holy dragon is more powerful than the gold dragon just because it has the word holy. On the contrary, the gold dragon is much more powerful than the gold holy dragon. Ning Fengji had never seen a golden holy dragon and a golden dragon before, so it was normal for him to be unable to tell the difference. The sword Douluo had also never seen a golden holy dragon before, but he was still a titled Douluo, so he was able to deduce some things. "Father, Grandpa Jian, what are you talking about? What golden holy dragon? What golden dragon? That's so confusing." Ning Rongrong's little face was scrunched up in a daze. A faint smile appeared on Ning Fengji's face before he explained to Ning Rongrong. "How is this possible?" In the Thunder Academy encampment, a blue-haired young man in a blue robe exclaimed in disbelief. His name was Yu Tianxin, and he was also from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. He and Yu Tianheng were known as the Twin Stars. Yu Tianxin's heart was filled with incredulity at the sight of Yu Tianheng's current state. The mighty Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon had been suppressed to such an extent. All of the students and teachers of the various academies and leaders of the various powers were astonished to see this. One had to know that the one being suppressed on the stage was no ordinary person. It was the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, the beast soul with the strongest offensive power. But now, let alone attack, Yu Tianheng couldn't even stand up. This scene was so shocking that even Lu Yuan's glory as a 1,000-year second soul ring was suppressed. "Look, sister, his second soul ring is actually a 1,000-year one," Shui Yue suddenly exclaimed in the Skywater Academy encampment. Her words immediately attracted everyone's attention. "A 1,000-year second soul ring? How is this possible?" Everyone was shocked once again as they looked at Lu Yuan's shining purple soul ring. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. One had to know that yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 and black were the best combinations in the world of soul masters. Perhaps some soul masters could have a red 9th soul ring, but that was a 100,000-year soul ring. Although it was rare, it was still acceptable. However, this was the first time they had seen a 1,000-year second soul ring. The youth in front of them had actually broken the norm in the eyes of the world once again. Moreover, even if he had a 1,000-year second soul ring, he was still a soul grandmaster. He had actually defeated so many soul elders so easily. Was he still a soul grandmaster? On the stage, Yu Tianheng's right hand was pressed against the ground as he felt the golden dragon's imposing aura. He only felt that the blue lightning tyrant dragon on his body was about to be crushed, but his innate pride made him unwilling to bow his head. Thus, he struggled to stand up. "Still want to struggle? A cold light flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes as the golden dragon's powerful aura pressed down on Yu Tianheng's body. This time, Yu Tianheng directly stuck to the ground with a plop. He no longer had the slightest ability to resist. His body collided with the ground, creating a loud sound. Tianheng. Dugu Yang couldn't bear to see Yu Tianheng in pain, but she was also suppressed by Lu Yuan's aura. The aura that came from the pinnacle of her bloodline made Dugu Yang's jade-scaled snake unable to resist at all. Below the stage, the Dream Divine Machine's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Yu Tianheng was the most outstanding student of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, but he was still defeated without any suspense. To the arrogant Dream Divine Machine, this was a devastating blow. If Yu Tianheng couldn't recover from this defeat, then his future was very likely to be destroyed. The Dream Divine Machine glared at Lu Yuan with murderous intent. Lu Yuan kicked Yu Tianheng off the stage, then lightly slapped Dugu Yang off the stage as well. This was the effect he wanted, to completely destroy the reputation of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School. Lu Yuan wasn't worried in the slightest as he looked at the murderous Dream Divine Machine. If the Dream Divine Machine dared to make a move, then he would be the one to suffer. Looking down at the 3 soul ancestors and several soul exalts, Lu Yuan's lips curved into a smile. You trashy soul ancestors and trashy soul exalts down there. Don't come up one by one. I don't want to waste any more time. Come at me together. Chapter 185. Bang! The golden fist knocked the last soul ancestor out of the stage. The match had come to an end. Lu Yuan stood with his hands behind his back, his golden dragon battle armor shining brightly. Just now, Lu Yuan had defeated 3 soul ancestors and 4 soul elders as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. With his golden dragon battle armor, golden dragon bloodline, and golden dragon martial soul, Lu Yuan was like a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus Rex as he beat up the 7 opponents from the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. A soul grandmaster beating up 3 soul ancestors and 4 soul elders at the same time. Who had ever seen such a thing? If someone had mentioned such a thing in the past, everyone would have thought it was a fantasy. But when this scene appeared in front of them, the shock it brought was incomparable. Who would have thought that such a soul grandmaster would exist in this world? Hiss. Ning Fengji sucked in a breath of cold air as he looked at Lu Yuan with eyes full of passion. Their 7 treasures glazed sect must obtain this youth. Thinking of this, Ning Fengji looked at Ning Rongrong beside him before turning his head back. Ning Rongrong looked at Ning Fengji in confusion. She didn't know what Ning Fengji's glance meant. What a young man with a flourishing talent. Sword Douluo praised. This was the first time he'd seen such a genius. A soul grandmaster was actually able to defeat 3 soul ancestors and 4 soul elders so easily. This kind of battle strength was truly formidable. Stinking brat, not bad. Chihiro Snow's eyes flashed with a trace of pride. As expected of her man, he was indeed formidable. That's right, Chihiro Snow already considered Lu Yuan as her man. In her opinion, ever since Lu Yuan kissed her, he was already hers. Her tyrannical nature was clear. But what she didn't know was that Lu Yuan had the same thoughts. Chihiro Snow secretly glanced at Ning Fengji beside her. She knew that this old fox was definitely planning on how to form a friendship with that stinking brat. He might even be thinking of using a honey trap. But with that guy's intelligence, Chihiro Snow felt that the one who would be taken advantage of would be Ning Fengji and not him. That stinking brat's main reason for doing all this was to bait Ning Fengji. Blazing Academy. Feng Xiaotian's eyes widened, Hua Wushuang's eyes widened, and Hua Wu's eyes sparkled. Is he still human? Feng Xiaotian and Hua Wushuang looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with deep shock, and then they both said the same thing. Pervert. Skywater Academy. Looking at the white-robed figure on the stage, Shui Bing-er's sapphire eyes revealed a trace of admiration. A soul grandmaster defeating 3 soul ancestors and 4 soul exalts was unheard of. Lu Yuan's strength was simply unfathomable. Shui Bing-er couldn't help but feel respect for him. This was a true genius. Compared to Lu Yuan, what were they? He's really too powerful, and so handsome too. Shui Yuer's face, which was 60% similar to Shui Bing'er's, was filled with infatuation. I declare that from today onwards, Lu Yuan is my male god. None of you can fight with me for him. Shui Yuer was like a hen protecting its food as she looked at her sisters with a threatening expression. Yuer, don't make trouble. Shui Bing'er rubbed her forehead helplessly. Her sister really couldn't do anything about her. Prince Xuexing watched the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy suffer a crushing defeat without a trace of a smile on his face. He didn't know why, but he had a bad premonition that Chihiro Snow would be the unlucky one after the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy lost. Was there something he hadn't thought of yet? The other powers. Lu Yuan's hands were clasped behind his back as he looked at the 7 people below the stage. I thought the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy, as the academy of the Heaven-Do Empire's imperial family, would have been strong. I didn't think you'd be this weak. How disappointing. Especially those soul ancestors. I've beaten up quite a few of them, but this is the first time I've seen someone as weak as you lot. You can't even compare to the soul exalts that went up earlier. Ari, is this the so-called Heaven-Do Imperial Academy? There was a trace of regret in his tone, as well as a trace of disdain. Everyone below the stage was furious at Lu Yuan's words. They'd never been humiliated like this before, but what could they do about it? How could a defeated general speak of bravery? Losers had no right to speak. Oh, that's right. And that blue lightning tyrant dragon soul cultivator, Yu Tianheng, right? Your blue lightning tyrant dragon martial soul is trash. It looks like the blue lightning tyrant dragon school is just as trash as you. Lu Yuan's voice was calm, but his words were filled with mockery. Combined with the disdain on his face, he really did look like a villain. Yu Tianheng clenched his fists so hard that they turned blue at Lu Yuan's words. His fingernails dug into his flesh, causing blood to drip down. Tianheng. Du Guyang's face was full of worry. She looked at Lu Yuan with confusion. Why did this man hate the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School so much? Du Guyang didn't have a bad impression of Lu Yuan even though he'd defeated them. Lu Yuan had used his true strength to defeat them, and she had no complaints about that. But why was he so against Tianheng? Shut your mouth. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School isn't something you can slander. Yu Tianxin stood up from the Thunder Academy and retorted. He glared at Lu Yuan as if he was about to spit fire. Oh! Lu Yuan narrowed his eyes. And who are you? Yu Tianxin of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School. Oh, I understand. What, do you have a problem with what I just said? Lu Yuan chuckled. If you have a problem with it, you can come up here. As long as you can defeat me, I'll take back what I said. That's if you have the ability to do so. Yu Tianxin fell silent. He'd seen Lu Yuan's battle prowess with his own eyes. It wasn't something he could compare to. Furthermore, Lu Yuan's martial soul seemed to be the bane of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon School. This was because Yu Tianheng was directly suppressed by Lu Yuan's martial soul and was forced to crawl on the ground. He couldn't even attack. Moreover, his strength was slightly weaker than Yu Tianheng's, so his performance might be even worse. Therefore, when Lu Yuan invited him to fight, how could he dare to accept? Lu Yuan's lips curled into a disdainful smile as he looked at the silent Yu Tianxin. Cowardly rat, you dare to provoke me? You really don't know what you're talking about. Yu Tianxin clenched his fists as he glared at Lu Yuan. If looks could kill, Lu Yuan would have died a few hundred times already. Being glared at by Yu Tianxin, Lu Yuan's polychoria eyes suddenly flashed with a strange light as he looked at Yu Tianxin. Yu Tianxin took a few steps back as soon as his eyes met with Lu Yuan's. It was as if he'd seen something terrifying. His entire body trembled as cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Chapter 186. Lu Yuan turned his attention away from Yu Tianxin and turned his attention to the Dream God Machine. The Dream God Machine's face was ashen. Even the 2 elders beside him had ugly expressions on their faces. After all, the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy had suffered a crushing defeat today. Lu Yuan had practically pinned the entire Heaven Do Imperial Academy to the ground by himself. A sole grandmaster had defeated more than 10 students in a row. For the sake of victory, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy had even used a sole ancestor who was about to graduate. They had even used a strategy of exhausting their soul force, but they had still lost. In the final round, Lu Yuan had defeated 3 soul ancestors and 4 soul exalts by himself. He had practically thrown the Heaven Do Imperial Academy's face to the ground and trampled on it. As the teachers of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, how could they not have ugly expressions on their faces? The Dream God machine looked at Lu Yuan with rage burning in its eyes. It wanted to swallow Lu Yuan whole, and there was even a trace of killing intent in its eyes. The Dream God machine was usually amiable, but for someone who had cultivated to the level of a soul Douluo, how could its hands not be stained with blood? The only reason it looked amiable was because it hadn't been harmed. Lu Yuan chose to ignore the Dream God machine's gaze. He looked around at the expressions on the faces of the leaders below the stage and couldn't help but nod to himself. Today's goal had been perfectly achieved. It was time to retreat for now. Lu Yuan gave Chihiro Snow a cryptic look. He flicked his finger and walked down the stage with his hands behind his back. As soon as Lu Yuan left the stage, a voice rang out, "Are you planning to leave just like that? Oh. Is there anything else you need?" Lu Yuan turned around. It was Prince Xuexing. Lu Yuan had looked him up before, so he was quite familiar with his appearance. Prince Xuexing took 8 steps forward and stopped when he was 5 meters away from Lu Yuan. "Sir, you've caused such a ruckus in my Heaven Do Imperial Academy and tarnished the Academy's reputation. You're dreaming if you think you can just walk away like this." Prince Xuexing didn't want to interfere, but he didn't expect the Heaven Do Imperial Academy to lose so miserably. Even though the person in charge of the academy was Xue Qinghe, he had to intervene. Because if the Snowy Night Emperor knew that he was here and did nothing to embarrass the royal family, he would also blame him. Moreover, he was still a member of the imperial family. Protecting the dignity of the imperial family was the responsibility of all the members of the imperial family. Therefore, it was reasonable for him to take action. However, his intervention might not bring about a good result. Instead, it might make the situation worse. "Oh, really? I've always been a dreamer. Don't tell me your academy wants to force me to stay. TSK, you lost so badly that you're going to lose your magnanimity as well? The Heaven Do Imperial Academy is quite impressive." Lu Yuan sneered. Prince Xuexing frowned. "Do you know who I am? Why should I care who you are?" Lu Yuan sized up Prince Xuexing. "You look like a fat pig. I don't even need to think about it. You must be a hedonistic prince from the imperial family. Sigh, why is the imperial family full of trash like you? The Snowy Night Emperor isn't good enough as an emperor. How dare you call the emperor by his name?" Dream Shinji roared. "Brat, do you want to die?" Prince Xuexing narrowed his eyes. Every time he narrowed his eyes, his killing intent was at its strongest. Lu Yuan's words had thoroughly infuriated him. "What, can't I call him by his name? Then why did he give you a name? Also, don't you look like a fat pig? Am I wrong?" Lu Yuan had a puzzled look on his face. It was as if he didn't know what he had said wrong. "Fat." A chuckle came from the crowd. The sound was as clear as a bell. It turned out to be Ning Rongrong. She looked at Prince Xuexing carefully with her big bright eyes. Then, she smiled and said, "That's a good description." Prince Xuexing glared at her with a ferocious expression. "Rongrong, don't talk nonsense." Ning Fengji's gentle voice sounded. His warm eyes met Prince Xuexing's ferocious eyes, and he nodded apologetically to Prince Xuexing. Prince Xuexing couldn't lose his temper when he saw Ning Fengji's daughter laughing. He turned to Lu Yuan and said, "Brat, you've really angered me. Brat, how dare you disrespect the emperor?" Dream Shinji and the other 2 stepped forward. Their soul Douluo auras were about to suppress Lu Yuan. "Are you trying to bully me?" The frenzy rhinoceros Douluo appeared in front of Lu Yuan and blocked all of the pressure that Lu Yuan was facing. His majestic aura completely suppressed the auras of Meng Shinji and the others, and even suppressed them instead. A titled Douluo was a titled Douluo after all. Even though he was only a rank 93 titled Douluo, 3 rank 80 soul Douluo couldn't compare to him. Of course, this was only under normal circumstances. Prodigies weren't included. A titled Douluo. The sword Douluo squinted and said, "It seems like his soul power is around rank 93. He's not weak. However, if that's the case, he might not be able to leave today." "Uncle Jen, what do you mean?" Ning Fengji asked. "He's here." The sword Douluo didn't answer. Instead, he said 2 words. After hearing the sword Douluo's words, Chihiro Snow's heart skipped a beat. If she wasn't wrong, Lu Yuan only had the frenzy rhinoceros Douluo with him. It seemed like the situation wasn't good. The snake spear Douluo and the thorny pufferfish couldn't appear casually. They had to hide when they were escorting her. This was because there were people in the Heaven Do Empire who recognized them. If they attacked, Lu Yuan's identity would be exposed. Everything they had done today would be wasted. "What should I do?" "Mr. Dugu, I'll have to trouble you. I want this brat dead." Prince Xuexing's face was ferocious. He had to kill this brat today. After Prince Xuexing finished speaking, an elder walked out from behind him. He was skinny, and his hair and beard were dark green. His eyes sparkled like emeralds. "It's him." Ning Fengji was a little surprised. "He's a titled poison Douluo, the jade-scaled Douluo," Dugubo, the sword Douluo said. "It seems like this brat is in trouble today." When she saw Dugubo, Chihiro Snow's eyes narrowed. It was the poison Douluo. Right now, they had Dugubo, 3 education committee members, 1 titled Douluo, and 3 soul Douluo. The frenzy rhinoceros Douluo was definitely no match for them. Chapter 187. "Senior, if I'm not wrong, you must be the jade-scaled Douluo, Dugubo." Lu Yuan smiled as he looked at the old man in front of him. "Kid, you're quite knowledgeable," Dugubo said. "I've always been knowledgeable." Lu Yuan smiled as he replied. "Heh, interesting kid. You've offended someone you shouldn't have," Dugubo said. "Someone I shouldn't have offended? Who are you referring to, senior? Is it this fat pig? He doesn't seem like someone I shouldn't have offended." Lu Yuan smiled. "Sigh, what a pity. Your character is quite suitable for this old man's taste. However, who asked you to show off too much? There are some people you can't afford to offend." Dugubo sighed as he spoke. "Mr. Dugu, please make your move," Prince Xuexing said. "Let's see who dares." The frenzy rhino Douluo shouted as his aura surged. "Your opponent is us." Meng Shinji and the other 2 stepped forward as their auras locked onto the frenzy rhino Douluo. Although the 3 of them weren't as strong as the frenzy rhino Douluo, they were more than enough to hold him back. Dugubo stepped forward as he raised his right hand. "Stinking brat." Seeing this scene, Chen Renshue's eyes narrowed. In the depths of her pupils, golden flames burned. "Uncle Jen, aren't we going to make a move?" Ning Fengji asked. If they wanted to get on Lu Yuan's good side, now was the best time to do so. No one else would dare to protect someone from the poison Douluo. Only the 7 Treasures Glazed sect had the confidence to do so. At that time, wouldn't Lu Yuan, the genius, fall into his hands? Hehe, just thinking about it made them happy. As for the Empire's reputation, they could just make this kid apologize and compensate some money. After that, they could ask the Snowy Night Emperor for mercy. Wouldn't this matter be resolved perfectly? "Do you see any trace of fear in that kid's eyes?" Sword Douluo asked. Perhaps no one else had noticed, but he had been paying attention to Lu Yuan from the very beginning. From the very beginning, even when the poison Douluo had appeared, Lu Yuan's expression hadn't changed in the slightest. He was still as calm and collected as ever, and it was quite clear that he was confident in his abilities. Ning Fengji was stunned to hear the sword Douluo's words. As expected, there wasn't a single hint of fear on Lu Yuan's face. In fact, there was even a hint of a smile on his face. Could it be that this kid still has a trump card? Ning Fengji frowned. Beside her, Chihiro Snow's eyes also revealed a trace of doubt. This stinking fellow indeed never did anything that he wasn't confident in. Just now, she was a little worried and confused, but where did this fellow's confidence come from? All of the powers reacted differently at the sight of the poisoned Douluo's raised palm. The other powers, such as the Blazing Fire Academy, the Skywater Academy, and the Divine Wind Academy, all felt that it was a pity. After all, it was indeed a pity that a prodigy like Lu Yuan had fallen just like that. However, who told him to offend a titled Douluo? Even if they felt that it was a pity, they wouldn't help him as Lu Yuan had nothing to do with them. Furthermore, no one was willing to offend a titled Douluo. In the Thunder Academy, Yu Qianxin looked at Douluo Bo's raised palm with an uncontrollable look of ecstasy on his face. That's right. Slap him to death. Slap him to death. He seemed to have gone insane, and he didn't look like a prodigy at all. In the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, Yu Qianheng looked at the scene with a complex look in his eyes. Lu Yuan had dealt him an unprecedented blow, and the feeling of his pride being crushed by Lu Yuan was simply too painful. Right now, Yu Qianheng was like a walking corpse who had completely lost his confidence. Even though Lu Yuan had died at the hands of the poisoned Douluo today, Yu Qianheng still couldn't walk out of Lu Yuan's shadow. This was because the scene in the arena had become a nightmare that he couldn't escape from for the rest of his life. Unless he could strengthen himself and break free from this nightmare, he would be crippled for the rest of his life. Douluo Yang looked at Yu Qianheng, who had lost all will to fight, and then looked at the scene not too far away. She bit her lip, and there was an indescribable look in her eyes. Douluo Bo looked at Lu Yuan, who was still fearless in front of him, and revealed a trace of curiosity in his eyes. He asked, "Kid, aren't you afraid?" "Afraid? Why should I be afraid?" Lu Yuan didn't seem to see what was happening above him. Instead, he looked at the infernal Rhino Douluo, who was still entangled with the 3-Dream Divine Armament, and asked, "What did that fat pig say to me just now?" "He said that he wants you dead, young master." Although the infernal Rhino Douluo was entangled with the 3-Dream Divine Armament, and couldn't extricate himself, he could still speak. "Douluo Bo, you'd better consider this carefully. If anything happens to the young master, your entire family and the Heaven Do Imperial family will be bathed in blood. No one will be able to escape," the infernal Rhino Douluo said. "Is that so?" Prince Xuexing laughed disdainfully. He was a prince of the Heaven Do Empire, and his entire family, including Emperor Xueyi, was under his command. Who would dare to attack the royal family of the Heaven Do Empire? Prince Xuexing felt that the frenzied Rhino Douluo's words were hilarious. "I think so." Lu Yuan smiled faintly, and said to the sky, "Elder Long, what do you think?" "I think that my master is right." A black-robed elder suddenly appeared in the empty sky. He had a handsome face, and there was a trace of unruliness and boldness about him. A suppressive aura that seemed to be able to suppress the heavens and the earth emanated from his body. As for Douluo Bo, the moment this person appeared, he froze on the spot, unable to move at all. The elder waved his hand gently, and Douluo Bo was sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood in the air. Hiss! Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. A titled Douluo was sent flying with a gentle wave of his hand. What kind of godlike figure was this elder? This pressure! The sword Douluo suddenly opened his eyes. Sharp sword chi burst forth from the depths of his eyes. How is this possible? "Uncle Jian, what's wrong?" Ning Fengji hurriedly asked the sword Douluo beside him. The sword Douluo didn't answer. There was an unprecedentedly serious look on his face. An ultimate Douluo. Others might not know this elder's rank, but how could Chihiro Snow, who had seen Sendryu's aura, not know? Chihiro Snow looked at the elder in midair, and then at Lu Yuan, who was not far away. He was shocked. When did this bastard know an ultimate Douluo? Why did this mysterious ultimate Douluo call him his master? Chihiro Snow only felt that Lu Yuan's originally clear appearance was covered by a layer of fog. He couldn't grasp or touch him. Chihiro Snow wasn't used to this. "Bastard, don't let me down, and don't let the Martial Soul Palace down," Chihiro Snow muttered softly. "Who are you?" Douluo Bo struggled to get up. He looked at the elder in midair with a horrified look on his face. I am Long Xiaoyao. My title is the Dragon Emperor. The elder's indifferent voice echoed throughout the entire plaza. Chapter 188. Dragon Emperor Douluo. Everyone was confused. They had never heard of Long Xiaoyao before. Dragon Emperor Douluo? Chihiro Snow shook her head. She had never heard of this name before. Furthermore, there were only 3 ultimate Douluo in the entire continent. Where did this person come from? Chihiro Snow looked at Lu Yuan below. There was a tinge of anger in her eyes. She was going to ask him how much more he was hiding from her later. Uncle Jian, have you heard of the Dragon Emperor Douluo before? Ning Fengji was a little confused. This was the first time he had heard of Long Xiaoyao. No. The Sword Douluo shook his head and said, however, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy is in trouble now that the Dragon Emperor Douluo is here. If an ultimate Douluo makes a move, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy will be in for a bloodbath. At the very least, Prince Xuexing will be skinned alive. Ning Fengji nodded and looked at Chihiro Snow beside him. He realized that Chihiro Snow was still as calm as ever. It was as if he wasn't bothered by what was happening below. Qinghe, what is he thinking? Ning Fengji only felt that his disciple had become a little stronger. Sometimes, he couldn't see through his actions anymore. Dragon Emperor Douluo. Du Gubo wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. There were still remnants of shock in his eyes. He was like a child in front of this person. He had rank 92 soul force, but he didn't have any ability to resist at all. Long Xiaoyao glanced at Du Gubo plainly, but he didn't care. His figure moved, and he appeared in front of Lu Yuan. His powerful aura caused a shockwave to form. Suddenly, Meng Shinji and the other 2 spat out blood and flew back. That powerful aura caused the frenzy rhinoceros Douluo to tremble. It was too frightening. Greetings, my lord. Long Xiaoyao bowed slightly. Sorry to trouble you, Elder Long. Lu Yuan nodded slightly and said. It's my duty to protect the master, Long Xiaoyao said. My lord. This wasn't the first time that Long Xiaoyao had addressed Hu Yuhao as master. Long Xiaoyao's bow just now left everyone astonished. Even someone who could severely wound the poison Douluo with a simple wave of his hand had to refer to him as his master. Just who was this young man named Lu Yuan? Looking at Lu Yuan below, Ning Fengji's expression changed, and a complicated look appeared on his face. Fengji, do you still think you can subdue this young man? The Sword Douluo asked. Ning Fengji laughed bitterly as he shook his head and said, how can I possibly subdue someone who can command someone as powerful as the Dragon Emperor Douluo? However, the 7 Treasures Glazed Sect can befriend him. In this way, not only can we gain the friendship of an exceptional genius, we can also befriend someone like the Dragon Emperor Douluo. Tell me, Uncle Jian, what kind of existence is this Dragon Emperor Douluo? I can feel that his aura is much stronger than yours, Ning Fengji said. Although he was only a rank 79 auxiliary type soul sage, it didn't mean that he wasn't knowledgeable. This person was one of the rarest people on the Douluo continent who possessed true intelligence, and was much more powerful than those so-called masters. If I'm not wrong, this Dragon Emperor Douluo has most likely reached rank 99, which is the highest rank among titled Douluo. He should only be 1 step away from rank 100, the Sword Douluo sighed in a forlorn manner. He knew more about the ranks of titled Douluo than the average person. This was because his father had once been a rank 98 titled Douluo. Later on, he had challenged a rank 99 titled Douluo. After he failed, he left not long after. As a result, the Sword Douluo had a deep impression of these things. Rank 99? Ning Fengji's voice carried a tinge of astonishment. Uncle Jian was only rank 96, but he was already so powerful. If this rank 99 Dragon Emperor Douluo were to unleash his full strength, how terrifying would it be? Even if he couldn't destroy the world, he wouldn't be far from it. This Dragon Emperor Douluo's abilities are probably unparalleled. Even if he's not the strongest, he's not far from it. The Sword Douluo sighed. Rank 99 was the realm that he and his father had been pursuing for their entire lives. Today, they had finally met one. Prince Xuexing's powerful subordinates had been easily dealt with by Long Xiaoyaro, and he was extremely fearful. This elder's abilities were too terrifying. Now that he was the only one left, how would they deal with him? As he looked at the fat Prince Xuexing, who was sweating profusely, and his fat body seemed to be trembling, Long Xiaoyaro couldn't help but smile and say, "Elder Long, this fat Prince Xuexing seemed to want to kill me. What do you think we should do?" "Ha." Long Xiaoyaro smiled and said, "Then I'll kill him first." As he spoke, he lifted his palm and swatted at Prince Xuexing like he was swatting a fly. Prince Xuexing was horrified, and shouted, "I'm from the Heaven Do imperial family, and I'm the younger brother of the current emperor of Snowy Night. If you dare to kill me, the Heaven Do imperial family won't let you off. Ha, the Heaven Do imperial family is nothing, and who the hell is the emperor of Snowy Night? If you dare to offend our master, you should be prepared to die." Long Xiaoyaro smiled. He had always been someone who didn't want to be restrained. Although he had been summoned by the system, and his memories were a little different, his character hadn't changed at all. The Heaven Do imperial family and the Emperor of Snowy Night dared to threaten his master, the Dragon Emperor Douluo, Long Xiaoyaro? They should take a look at themselves in the mirror. "Uncle Jian, should we save him?" Ning Fengji asked. After all, Prince Xuexing was a prince of the Heaven Do imperial family. The Seven Treasures Glazed sect had always supported the Heaven Do imperial family, and it wouldn't be right if they didn't help in this situation. The Sword Douluo shook his head and said, "We can't save him. If an ultimate Douluo wants to kill someone, who in this world can save him? Unless someone of the same level as him intervenes, there's no chance at all." Hearing this, Ning Fengji fell silent. It wasn't that he didn't want to help, but that he didn't have the ability to do so. Whoosh! Seeing that Long Xiaoyaro didn't care about the Heaven Do imperial family at all, everyone was shocked. Whether it was their master, Lu Yuan, or Long Xiaoyaro, who was a titled Douluo, they were both very bold and daring. They dared to kill a prince of the Heaven Do imperial family without hesitation. "Mr. Dugu, please save me. Elders, please save me. Sect leader Ning, please save me. I don't want to die." Seeing that Long Xiaoyao's palm was getting closer and closer, Prince Xuexing's aura was locked in place, and he couldn't move at all. After hearing Prince Xuexing's cry for help, the poison Douluo's lips twitched, and he turned around. Ning Fengji didn't say anything, and his eyes flickered. No one knew what he was thinking. The Dream God machine and the other two elders were sprawled on the ground, as if they hadn't heard anything. Chapter 189. None of the three parties made a move. Prince Xuexing's face was ashen. He knew that he was doomed. He was a prince, and he had many wives and concubines. He hadn't enjoyed enough yet, and didn't want to die so early. Unfortunately, it seemed like no one could save him now. When a titled Douluo completely disregarded the Heaven Do imperial family, what was a mere prince of the Heaven Do imperial family worth? In this world, strength was everything. He could even imagine that even if he died here today, the Snowy Night Emperor would be furious, but he would still swallow his anger. This was because the elder in front of him was too strong. He was so strong that he could severely injure Dugu Bo with a simple wave of his hand. He could also severely injure Meng Shinji and the other two Soul Douluo with his aura. Even the Snowy Night Emperor was very wary of such strength. Prince Xuexing was very regretful. He regretted being the one to stand out and provoke this young man. However, it was too late for regrets now. Long Xiaoyao's palm slowly descended, as if he wanted Prince Xuexing to experience the feeling of death slowly approaching. Death was actually very simple. It only took an instant. However, the process of waiting for death was very torturous. Lu Yuan glanced around and observed everyone's expressions. He couldn't help but tell himself that this was a world where strength reigned supreme. As long as you were strong enough, you could do anything. However, Lu Yuan hesitated as he looked at Prince Xuexing. Should he kill him or not? There were benefits regardless of whether he killed him or not. If he killed him, he would become enemies with the Heaven Do imperial family. He probably wouldn't be able to come to Heaven Do imperial city in the future, and it would be very difficult for him to see Cher. However, if he killed Prince Xuexing, there wouldn't be any obstacles for Cher. His plan would be much smoother. If he didn't kill Prince Xuexing, he would most likely continue to oppose Cher. The good thing was that Xuexing's standing in Emperor Xueyi's heart would plummet, and Cher would gradually gain more authority. Furthermore, he could continue to roam around Heaven Do imperial city. However, the benefits that Xuexing would gain from killing Prince Xuexing wouldn't be comparable to the benefits that Cher would gain from killing Prince Xuexing. Even though Prince Xuexing had lost his power, his existence could still bring some trouble to Cher. Therefore, Lu Yuan did not know whether to kill Prince Xuexing or not. He really couldn't do it if he didn't see Cher for a long time. Did he have to secretly meet Cher every time he met her? Just thinking about it made him feel uncomfortable. Long Xiaoyao's palm was getting closer and closer to Prince Xuexing's head. Just as Lu Yuan was about to kill Prince Xuexing, a voice rang out, "Stop." His voice was clear and bright, and he didn't sound too old. Everyone looked over when they heard the voice. This person was dressed in bright imperial robes and had a handsome face. Although he couldn't compare to Lu Yuan, he had a refined temperament. Who is he? Some of them couldn't understand. He actually dared to save someone right under the nose of the Dragon Emperor Douluo. Wasn't he a little too bold? Qinghe. Ning Fengji couldn't help but exclaim when he saw Chihiro Snow step forward. He was afraid that the Dragon Emperor Douluo would kill him too if he lost his temper. If that happened, the Heaven Do Empire would be turned upside down. Uncle Jian, if things don't go right, please do something, Ning Fengji said. The sword Douluo nodded. It didn't matter if Prince Xuexing died. However, Xue Qinghe was the next heir to the throne of the Heaven Do Empire. He couldn't let anything happen to him. Qinghe. Prince Xuexing felt a little conflicted when he heard Chihiro Snow's familiar voice. Why is Qinghe pleading for me? He thought about how he had caused so much trouble for Qinghe over this period of time. Long Xiaoyaro glanced at Lu Yuan when he was suddenly stopped. Lu Yuan nodded, and Long Xiaoyaro retracted his hand. You're Mr. Lu Yuan, right? I'm Xue Qinghe. Chihiro Snow cupped his fists towards Lu Yuan and said. Lu Yuan had a strange look in his eyes when he saw Chihiro Snow appear in front of him. What's Cher trying to do? Why is she pleading for Xuexing? However, Cher must have her own plans since she's taken the initiative to step forward. Forget it, I'll play along with her and see what she's thinking. Oh, so it's the Crown Prince of the Heaven Do Empire. I've heard of you. What can I do for you, Crown Prince? Lu Yuan said plainly. However, he gave Chihiro Snow a probing look. I'm here to ask Mr. Lu to be magnanimous and let my uncle off, Chihiro Snow said as he gave Lu Yuan a subtle look. Lu Yuan understood what Chihiro Snow meant. He was asking him not to kill Prince Xuexing. Haha. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and said, just now, Prince Xuexing swore that he wanted my life. Why should I let him go? Chihiro Snow was stunned and said, I'm here to apologize to Mr. Lu on behalf of my uncle. My uncle was in the wrong, and the Heaven Do Imperial Academy was disrespectful. I hope Mr. Lu can be magnanimous. The Heaven Do Imperial Academy is willing to compensate Mr. Lu. Haha, you're quite bold. Aren't you afraid of death? Lu Yuan asked. I'm afraid, of course I'm afraid. However, I'm the Crown Prince of the Heaven Do Empire. How can I stand by and watch my uncle die in front of me? Chihiro Snow said. He looked as if he was unafraid of death. What a scene of uncle and nephew. Everyone present couldn't help but nod when they saw Xue Qinghe's demeanor. This is the demeanor a crown prince should have. Not only is he loyal, but is also unfazed in the face of death. Lu Yuan smiled faintly in his heart as he watched Chen Runshue's performance. Where did Xue learn her acting skills from? She's really like it. However, Cher's words reminded me that Xuexing can't die yet. At least, he can't die in front of Cher. Otherwise, it will affect her negatively. Lu Yuan thought to himself. Prince Xuexing had a complicated expression on his face. He didn't expect his nephew to go to such lengths for him. Perhaps he was faking it, but at the very least, he stood up for him. That's already very rare. Even though Xuexing might be the murderer of the second and third princes, he was at least a qualified candidate for the throne. Xuexing killed his brother for the throne, but he didn't fight for the throne with Xuexing. Xuexing also didn't do anything to betray him. If he continued to oppose Xuexing, would that be the right thing to do? Also, could Xuexing compare to the crown prince, Xuexinghe? Prince Xuexing fell into deep thought. Haha. Your crown prince has some grace. You're much better than this fat pig. Lu Yuan smiled and said, I can take this fat pig's life. However, I'm interested in something from your Heaven Do imperial family. If you can give it to me, I can let this fat pig go. Chapter 190. May I know what it is? Chihiro Snow asked. Lu Yuan replied, I heard that the Heaven Do imperial family has a vast sea cosmic shroud, and I'm quite interested in it. If you can give it to me, I'll let this fat pig off the hook. Vast sea cosmic shroud? So that's what it is. Ning Fengji sighed. You know about it, Fengji? The sword Douluo turned to Ning Fengji with a curious expression. This was the first time he had heard of this vast sea cosmic shroud. Yes, this vast sea cosmic shroud has quite a few uses. It can be considered a strange soul tool. As the sect master of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, he had some understanding of the vast sea cosmic shroud's miraculous uses. It could be considered very precious, but that was all there was to it. Of course, this was because he didn't know the true identity of the vast sea cosmic shroud. Even in the Heaven Do Empire, no one knew the true name of the vast sea cosmic shroud and its uses, so this was a good opportunity for Lu Yuan to pick up. The vast sea cosmic shroud. Xuexinghe faltered slightly upon hearing this. She had heard of this item before, and it was said to be the Heaven Do Empire's most precious treasure. It did have some uses, but why would this guy want it? However, Qian Renxue had a vague feeling that this vast sea cosmic shroud wasn't as simple as she had imagined it to be. He definitely wouldn't do anything if there were no benefits to be had. Qinghe, the vast sea cosmic shroud is the Heaven Do Empire's most precious treasure. You can't give it to him, Prince Xuexing said. Even though he didn't know why Lu Yuan wanted the vast sea cosmic shroud, it was indeed very precious. It was the most precious treasure of the Heaven Do Empire, so how could he just give it to someone else? Imperial uncle, no matter how precious the vast sea cosmic shroud is, it's not as important as your life. However, Qian Renxue had an idea. The item that this bastard wanted was definitely not simple. Since he wanted it, she would give it to him. If it was in this bastard's hands, wouldn't it be equivalent to giving it to her? Qinghe. Hearing this, Prince Xuexing was quite touched. He blamed himself. Had he gone too far in the past? He had always been against Qinghe. Now, it seemed that Qinghe had treated him quite well. To think that he was willing to trade a supreme treasure like the vast sea cosmic shroud for his life. Regardless of whether he was sincere or not, at the very least, he had done everything that a crown prince and a nephew could do. If it was Avalanche, would he be able to do this? Prince Xuexing wasn't sure. It had to be said that after a brush with death, people would always feel an inexplicable sense of gratitude towards the person who saved them. Xuexing in front of him was just like that. Okay, I promise you, Chihiro Snow said. Lu Yuan smiled. You are indeed the crown prince of the Heaven Do Empire. You are indeed magnanimous. I shall spare Xuexing's life. Elder Long, let's go. Lu Yuan nodded at Long Xiaoyaro before turning around and leaving with his hands behind his back. Long Xiaoyaro glanced at everyone before following behind Lu Yuan. The frenzy rhinoceros Douluo hesitated for a moment before following behind Lu Yuan. The three of them left together. Young Master Lu, aren't you afraid that Qinghe will go back on his word if you leave just like that? Chihiro Snow's voice sounded. Haha, no one has ever dared to break their word to me. If I don't obtain the vast sea cosmic shroud in a few days, it won't just be a crown prince who will die. I might even add another crown prince to my list. Lu Yuan's voice was calm, but there was a faint killing intent in his voice that made everyone's scalp numb. This young man really didn't care about anything. Qing he understands. I will inform young Master Lu that Qing he will present the vast sea cosmic shroud to you in 3 days at the Crown Prince's residence. I hope young Master Lu will be there on time, Chihiro Snow said. Got it. Lu Yuan waved his hand. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks and said, since you are a good Crown Prince, I'll tell you something. Perhaps you are curious why I challenged the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. That's because I saw a silk pants in the Heaven Do Imperial City. His name is Avalanche. At that time, he was bullying a commoner, saying that their academy was trash and couldn't compare to the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. His attitude was extremely arrogant, and I was curious. I wanted to know if this so-called Heaven Do Imperial Academy was really that powerful. Now it seems like it's just SOSO. Oh, right, I remember this Avalanche is the 4th prince of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. TSK, I have to say, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy is really full of talent. Lu Yuan smiled faintly and turned to leave. Before he left, he even tricked Avalanche. That was very satisfying. As for the matter of Avalanche bullying commoners, it was easy to arrange. After all, Avalanche was a true silk pants. Lu Yuan's mind spun. Everything had been arranged. All that was left was to wait for 3 days. Vast sea cosmic shroud. I'll be taking it first. Seeing Lu Yuan's departing figure, the sword Douluo asked, Fengji, didn't you want to befriend this young man? Why didn't you follow him? Ning Fengji smiled faintly and said, 3 days later, at the Crown Prince's residence in Clear River. Won't we meet? Ning Fengji looked at Chihiro Snow with a trace of admiration. After today's matter, Clear River's position as Crown Prince would become even more stable. After all, his actions today were magnanimous and dignified. He already had the demeanor of a wise monarch. Furthermore, Lu Yuan's words before he left dealt another blow to the Silk Pants Avalanche. In everyone's eyes, Avalanche's image was probably even worse. Without him, the Heaven Do Imperial Academy wouldn't have suffered such a crushing defeat. The Imperial family wouldn't have lost face, Prince Xuexing wouldn't have nearly lost his life, and the Heaven Do Imperial family wouldn't have lost another vast sea cosmic shroud. All in all, Avalanche was unlucky. But this was also good. Xuexing was his disciple. If he became emperor in the future, it wouldn't be a bad thing for the 7 Treasures glazed sect. Rongrong, what do you think of big brother Lu Yuan? Ning Fengji asked with a smile. He's very handsome and very powerful. Ning Rongrong nodded her head lightly. Rongrong, do you like him? Ning Fengji asked again. Hearing this, the sword Douluo's expression became complicated. He understood Ning Fengji's thoughts. He wanted to use marriage to tie that youth down. However, if it was an outstanding peerless genius like Lu Yuan, he would be a good match for Rongrong. Hearing Ning Fengji's words, Ning Rongrong's face flushed red. Seeing his daughter's reaction, how could Ning Fengji not know what his daughter was thinking? He immediately laughed and was in a very good mood. With his hands behind his back, he walked out. Fengji, where are you going? The sword Douluo asked. I'm going to the palace. I think there might be some twists and turns for Qinghe to obtain the vast sea cosmic shroud. I'm going to help him. It can be considered as doing Lu Yuan a favor in advance. I can see that kid really wants that thing. Ning Fengji's indifferent voice sounded. Hearing this, the sword Douluo was stunned. It seemed like Fengji really wanted to befriend that kid Lu Yuan. However, such an outstanding genius and a limit Douluo were indeed worthy of his help. Chapter 191. After leaving the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, Lu Yuan didn't stop. Instead, he went straight back to the Starblue Hotel. At this moment, Heaven Do Imperial City was in an uproar because of him. Heaven Do Imperial City. The Snowy Night Emperor quietly listened to the Dream Divine Machine's report. His face was as cold as ice. So you're saying that the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy's defeat and the Heaven-Do Imperial family's reputation were trampled on because of the avalanche? The Snowy Night Emperor's voice was cold, without a trace of warmth. That's what Lu Yuan said before he left. If it wasn't for this reason, he wouldn't have attacked the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy for no reason. After all, there's no enmity between us. The Dream Divine Machine said. Hearing the Dream Divine Machine's words, Prince Xuexing wanted to defend Avalanche, but he didn't know what to say. This was because he knew that Avalanche was most likely the one who did this. After all, it was his idea to make Avalanche act like a silk pants. But he couldn't say it out loud. Why did Avalanche have to act like a silk pants? Prince Xuexing was speechless. Now that he thought about it, Xuexing didn't seem like a bad person. He still hadn't decided whether or not to oppose him. After all, Xuexing did save his life this time. Prince Xuexing was still somewhat grateful to Xuexing. Xuexing, who was in Qian Ranshue's disguise, had a calm expression on his face as he listened to the Dream God Machine's report. However, there was a trace of joy in the depths of his eyes. Lu Yuan, that bastard, had really dealt a blow to Avalanche before he left. He had made Avalanche the scapegoat for his actions in the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy. One had to admit that this move was truly ingenious. Not only did he remove himself from the blame, he also gave the Snowy Night Emperor a punching bag. At the same time, if Avalanche suffered, then the one who benefited was naturally him. After all, not only was he the Crown Prince, but he was also the Snowy Night Emperor's only remaining son. Although this son's identity was fake, the Snowy Night Emperor didn't know about it. Are you telling the truth? The Snowy Night Emperor stared at the Dream God Machine. Replying to Your Majesty, this old man is speaking the truth. Your Majesty can ask Sect Master Ning and His Highness the Crown Prince. This old man is not lying. The Dream Divine Machine spoke righteously. Basically, it would not let go of Avalanche. In any case, he was on Xuexing's side. Moreover, he was extremely disgusted with Avalanche's profligacy. This time, the Heaven-Do Imperial Academy had lost so miserably, and the royal family had lost all face. Since there had to be a scapegoat, then let Avalanche be the scapegoat. Qing He, is Dream Education Commissioner telling the truth? Snow Night Emperor asked. In reply to Imperial Father, that is indeed the case, Chihiro Snow said. Sect Master Ning, you were also present at that time, right? Snow Night Heavenly Emperor turned his gaze to Ning Fengji. Your Majesty, that is indeed the case. Ning Fengji did not hide it. After all, Avalanche was the unlucky one, and it had nothing to do with him. He was Xuexing's teacher, and it was better for him to have a better relationship with Xuexing. Hearing Ning Fengji say the same thing, Snow Night Emperor's face turned even uglier. He said, Avalanche caused trouble and caused our Heaven-Do Imperial Academy to lose so miserably. The royal family's face has been greatly damaged. Send someone to give him 20 beatings and imprison him in the prince's residence for 3 years. This time, Snow Night Emperor was truly angry. The royal family's face had been ruthlessly trampled on, and the imperial prince had almost lost his life. As the Heaven-Do Emperor, he had lost all face. Hearing the Snow Night Emperor's order, Prince Xuexing opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. He could only sigh in his heart. This way, Snow Night Emperor's impression of Avalanche would be even worse. It would be even more impossible for him to ascend the throne. He looked at Qian Renshue, who was not too far away. His mind was spinning. Should he give up on Avalanche? It wasn't just a saying that the royal family had no family. Now, let's talk about Lu Yuan. Qinghe, I heard that you agreed to give him the vast sea universe shroud? Snow Night Emperor asked calmly. Yes, the situation was critical. In order to save Imperial Uncle's life, I had no choice but to agree to his request. I have overstepped my boundaries, so please calm down, Imperial Father. Chihiro Snow immediately said. I don't blame you. Snow Night Emperor said softly. You handled this matter well. You have the demeanor of a crown prince. However, the vast sea universe shroud is the most precious treasure of our Heaven-Do Empire. I'm not willing to give it away just like that. Furthermore, The disdain in his words towards our Heaven Do imperial family makes me very angry. Everyone, do you think I should give him the vast sea universe shroud? Snow Knight Emperor asked. I think you should. Chihiro Snow said. Why? Snow Knight Emperor asked. There are 2 reasons. Firstly, we've already agreed to Lu Yuan's request. Many of the powers present have seen it. If we don't give it to him, our imperial family will be labeled as a broken promise. That will be detrimental to our prestige. Secondly, I'm not trying to boost his morale and diminish our prestige. He has 2 titled Douluo by his side, and the Dragon Emperor Douluo is even more powerful. He was able to severely injure the poison Douluo with a simple wave of his hand. His strength is simply too terrifying. I don't think we should provoke him. Chihiro Snow explained. Xuexing, what do you think? Prince Xuexing said, I think the Crown Prince is right. Oh. Lu Yuan almost killed you, and you're still choosing to keep the peace. Snow Knight Emperor looked at Xuexing. It was as if he was meeting his younger brother for the first time. One had to know that his younger brother was always vengeful, but he was choosing to keep the peace this time. Was he still his younger brother? Ah, brother, it's not that I don't want to take revenge. It's just that Long Xiaoyaro is too powerful. I don't dare to, Prince Xuexing said. Back in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy, Long Xiaoyao's aura had already frightened him. Even Dugu Bo, a titled Douluo, couldn't withstand a single blow from Long Xiaoyao. As a prince, he was nothing. Protecting his own life was the most important thing. Furthermore, with Lu Yuan's unscrupulous character, he might really send Long Xiaoyao to kill him if he didn't give him the vast sea cosmic shroud. He hadn't lived long enough, and didn't want to die yet. After hearing Chihiro Snow and Xuexing's answers, Snow Knight Emperor furrowed his brow and asked Ning Fengji, Sect Master Ning, is Long Xiaoyao really that powerful? Indeed. The Dragon Emperor Douluo is far more powerful than the Sword Douluo of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect. According to the Sword Douluo, the Dragon Emperor Douluo's soul power has probably reached rank 99. He's almost invincible. Ning Fengji said. Rank 99? The Snowy Knight Emperor inhaled a breath of cold air. A rank 99 ultimate Douluo might not be able to destroy an empire, but destroying an empire's royal family was a piece of cake for him. The Snowy Knight Emperor was truly fearful now. If Long Xiaoyaro attacked, who in the world would be able to save him? Chapter 192. If that's the case, I have no choice but to give him the vast sea cosmic shroud. There was a bitter look on the Snowy Knight Emperor's face. So what if he was the ruler of an empire? He still had to compromise in the face of a truly powerful individual. The Snowy Knight Emperor didn't dare to take any risks against a rank 99 ultimate Douluo, especially when his opponent was in Heaven Do Imperial City. If things didn't go his way, he could come to the Imperial Palace and take his head. How could he not be afraid? The Heaven Do Imperial family didn't even have 2 titled Douluo. How could they resist a rank 99 ultimate Douluo? If Long Xiaoyaro wanted to kill him, it wouldn't take him much effort. Qinghe, we'll do as you say then. The Snowy Knight Emperor sighed. Even though he was very unwilling, he still gave this order. Yes, Master. Chihiro Snow acknowledged. He lowered his head slightly, but there was a subtle look of joy in his eyes. Now that this matter is over, how do you think we should deal with Lu Yuan next? The Snowy Knight Emperor asked. In fact, he was a little troubled. Lu Yuan clearly didn't get along well with the imperial family. He didn't like the imperial family, but he had 2 titled Douluo with him. One of them was even an ultimate Douluo. The Snowy Knight Emperor was worried that Lu Yuan would cause trouble in Heaven Do Imperial City. Prince Xuexing's expression changed, but he didn't say anything. He wanted Lu Yuan to die, but Lu Yuan had such a powerful backing him. He didn't dare to oppose Lu Yuan. He still wanted to live for a few more years. However, he couldn't bring himself to say that he was on good terms with Lu Yuan. I think we can befriend Lu Yuan. Even if we can't gain his friendship, we can't make him hate us. After all, he has an ultimate Douluo behind him. That's a terrifying force, Chihiro Snow said. Yes. The Snowy Night Emperor nodded. Even though Lu Yuan had humiliated the Heaven Do imperial family, a proper politician could tolerate things that ordinary people couldn't. If they could get Lu Yuan to join the Heaven Do imperial family, then the Heaven Do Empire would have the support of a limit Douluo. What was a little bit of face compared to that? Therefore, not only did the Snow Night Emperor not blame Chihiro Snow, but he was also quite optimistic about his suggestion. However, this Lu Yuan had such a bad impression of the imperial family. Who should he send to get in touch with him? The Snowy Night Emperor raised his doubts. Reporting to your majesty, this subordinate feels that His Highness the Crown Prince is very good. His Highness the Crown Prince handles matters appropriately and has a good way of dealing with people. Moreover, that Lu Yuan's attitude towards the Crown Prince does not seem to dislike him. Therefore, this subordinate feels that His Highness the Crown Prince should be the best candidate. The Dream God Machine said. Teacher Meng is right. Your Highness the Crown Prince is indeed a good candidate. If your Majesty doesn't mind, I can also help your Highness the Crown Prince, Ning Fengji said. He also had his own plans. Then I'll have to trouble Sect Master Ning. Qinghe, I'll leave this mission to you. You must pull Lu Yuan to our side. Even if you can't, you must make him have a good impression of us. Are you confident that you can do it? The Snowy Night Emperor said. Replying to Imperial Father, this son is confident. This son will do his best to make this happen, Chihiro Snow said, but his eyes were shining. This way, she would finally have the chance to meet this stinky bastard face to face. The next time she sees that stinky bastard, she will interrogate him and see just how many things he is hiding from her. Very good. The Snowy Night Emperor was gratified when he saw how confident Xue Qinghe was. Luckily, there was still one of his sons who was more outstanding. Qinghe was indeed very outstanding. The empire finally had a successor. He was much better than that spoiled brat Avalanche. The Snowy Night Emperor seemed to remember something when Avalanche was mentioned. Heaven Do Imperial Academy lost so miserably this time. Qinghe, I'll leave the task of reorganizing Heaven Do Imperial Academy to you. You don't have to worry about anything. Just do it boldly and decisively. This emperor will support you. Yes, this son obeys. Chihiro Snow laughed in his heart. Everything was going according to this stinky bastard's plan. Xuexing. This son is here. Prince Xuexing's body shook. He knew that he was in for a bad time. Heaven Do Imperial Academy used to be under your control. Now that we've lost so miserably, you can't blame Qinghe. He's only been in charge for less than 2 months. Most of the blame is still on you. Do you have anything to say? The Snowy Night Emperor asked. This son of yours has nothing to say. Prince Xuexing lowered his head. The truth was right in front of him. He couldn't refute it. Who knew that the Heaven Do Imperial Academy would lose so miserably? Furthermore, Xue Qinghe's performance was so outstanding. Since that's the case, you don't have to interfere with the Imperial Academy's matters anymore. Withdraw your people. The Snowy Night Emperor said. Yes. Xuexing nodded helplessly. He knew that Xue Qinghe would be the sole ruler of the Heaven Do Imperial Academy from now on. This stinky bastard is indeed impressive. Chihiro Snow lowered his head. Everything was going according to Lu Yuan's plan. He looked at the Snowy Night Emperor, Prince Xuexing, and the indifferent Ning Fengji. This stinky bastard's plan was able to place so many smart people in the palm of his hand. I have to admit that his intelligence is admirable and likable. Star Blue Hotel. Long Xiaoyaro and the Frenzy Rhino Douluo were both in Lu Yuan's room. Lu Yuan glanced at the Frenzy Rhino Douluo. You seem to have something to say. The Frenzy Rhino Douluo looked at Long Xiaoyaro before looking at Lu Yuan. Only then did he carefully ask, Young Master Yuan, may I ask where this Dragon Emperor is from? The infernal rhinoceros Douluo had to voice his doubts even though he was fearful of such a powerful individual who had suddenly appeared by Lu Yuan's side out of his duty. I'll explain this to share myself. You don't have to worry so much. Don't worry, I'm also from the Martial Soul Palace. Lu Yuan said. Yes. The frenzy Rhino Douluo replied. Since Lu Yuan had said so, there was no need for him to continue speaking. As long as it didn't harm the martial soul palace, he couldn't be bothered with young Master Yuan's matters. Of course, he couldn't care less. Young Master Yuan, I'll take my leave first. The frenzy Rhino Douluo said. All right, go ahead. Help Elder Long get a room, Lu Yuan's voice sounded. Yes. The frenzy Rhino Douluo acknowledged before he turned around and left. Master, what are you worried about? Long Xiaoyao asked as if he could tell that Lu Yuan had something on his mind. Sigh, Elder Long, I'm just worried about how to explain today's incident to Shui-Er. I know Shui-Er's temper very well. If I don't explain it clearly, I'm afraid things will get serious. I have to think of a perfect excuse. Lu Yuan scratched his head in distress. Long Xiaoyao was speechless. Chapter 193. Time passed very quickly. It had been 3 days since Lu Yuan had defeated the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. In the Starblue Hotel, Lu Yuan tidied up his attire. He was still as handsome as ever. He shook his finger. Elder Long, Elder Rhino, let's go. Yes, my lord. Yes, young Master Yuan. Crown Prince's residence Chihiro Snow, who was disguised as Xue Qinghe, had already arrived at the Crown Prince's residence to welcome them. As the Crown Prince of an empire, he had to be very courteous. There were 3 people beside him. One was naturally the sect leader of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect, Ning Fengji. Another was the 7 Treasures Glazed sect's guardian, the Sword Douluo. The last one was a delicate little girl. Lu Yuan brought Long Xiaoyao and the Rhino Douluo over slowly. The Crown Prince's residence was very famous in Heaven Do Imperial City. The path was not difficult. Of course, the main reason was that Lu Yuan had already been here once. He knew the way on his second visit. Hence, he came at the right time. He was not late. Greetings, young Master Lu. Chihiro Snow bowed to Lu Yuan. Greetings. Lu Yuan clasped his hands and winked at Chihiro Snow. This little Snow is quite formal. Lu Yuan seemed to have noticed Ning Fengji beside Chihiro Snow. He asked, who is this? Come, young Master Lu. Let me introduce you. This is sect leader Ning of the 7 Treasures Glazed sect. He's also my teacher, Chihiro Snow said. 7 Treasures Glazed sect. Lu Yuan nodded and said, I've heard a lot about you. The 7 Treasures Glazed Pagoda's strongest support. I've heard of it for a long time too. You're too polite, young Master Lu. Ning Fengji smiled. Then, young Master Lu, shall we go in first? Chihiro Snow asked. Okay. Lu Yuan nodded. They entered the Crown Prince's residence and sat down. This time, it was not in the Crown Prince's study, but in the main hall. After all, Ning Fengji was present. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get down to business. Chihiro Snow clapped his hands. At the side, a maid brought a tray and handed it to Lu Yuan. Oh! Lu Yuan was stunned, then he slowly removed the red cloth on the tray. As soon as the cover was removed, a blue light instantly filled the entire main hall. It was a triangular-shaped object. Its entire body was sparkling and translucent blue. It seemed to be carved out of sapphire and was only the size of a palm. Amidst the sparkling and translucent blue light, strange energy fluctuations were constantly emitted from it. On this blue triangular object, there were ripple-like patterns. These patterns didn't look like they were carved. Instead, they looked more like they were alive. The bright blue light that covered the entire main hall was released from this object. Is this the vast sea cosmic shroud? Lu Yuan murmured to himself as he accepted the tray. Young Master Lu, this is the vast sea cosmic shroud. Please take a look and see if there are any problems with it, Chihiro Snow asked as he looked at Lu Yuan with an inquiring expression. Lu Yuan returned Chihiro Snow's gaze in an inconspicuous manner. He stowed the vast sea cosmic shroud away into his star ring with a faint smile. There are no problems. Your Highness really is a man of his word. That's good. Our imperial family was in the wrong this time. Please accept this vast sea cosmic shroud as an apology gift from our imperial family. Please don't take this to heart, young Master Lu. Our imperial family bears no ill will toward you, Chihiro Snow said. Okay. Lu Yuan nodded in response. Seeing Lu Yuan's indifferent expression, Qian Renxue praised Lu Yuan's performance in her heart. At the same time, she looked at Ning Fengji for help. Ning Fengji instantly understood what was going on. Young Master Lu's heroic bearing is truly admirable. I've never seen a genius like young Master Lu in all these years. You're truly a peerless genius, Ning Fengji exclaimed in admiration. You flatter me, Sect Master Ning. Lu Yuan's expression remained indifferent in the face of Ning Fengji's flattery. There was no trace of arrogance or complacency in his expression. Instead, there was a hint of arrogance in his calm demeanor. He was no longer as domineering as he was in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. Come to think of it, perhaps this was the true personality of this young man in front of him. Perhaps this young man was just putting on an act back in the Heaven Do Imperial Academy. However, this young man was truly difficult to deal with. This was the first time Ning Fengji had been unable to figure out a person. He didn't seem arrogant at all. Instead, he seemed to be abnormally calm. He didn't seem like a young man at all. Ning Fengji glanced at Chihiro Snow. He didn't know why, but he didn't know what to say to Lu Yuan. This young man was like an insulator. No matter what Ning Fengji said, he would either respond with an "oh" or a "thank you." Even Ning Fengji didn't know what to say. Ning Fengji rolled his eyes and looked at Long Xiaoyaro, who was standing behind Lu Yuan. He turned to Chihiro Snow and said, Qinghe, how did you arrange this? The Dragon Emperor hasn't been seated yet. Hurry up and arrange a seat for him. Yes, you're right. I was careless. Chihiro Snow nodded and said, Someone, bring the Dragon Emperor to a seat. As soon as Qian Renxue finished speaking, a maid immediately brought a chair over. There's no need for that. I'll just stand. Long Xiaoyaro stood behind Lu Yuan and placed his hands behind his back. You guys can continue with your discussion. Don't bother about me. Long Xiaoyao's expression was indifferent. He could tell what Ning Fengji was thinking. After living for so many years, what didn't he know? Huo Yuhao wanted to leave a good impression in front of him. However, this didn't work on Long Xiaoyaro. Lu Yuan snickered in his heart. It wasn't a bad idea to start with Elder Long. However, what Ning Fengji didn't know was that Long Xiaoyaro was truly cold and aloof. He really didn't care about Ning Fengji at all. If Ning Fengji was the sword Douluo, he would be a little interested. However, Huo Yuhao was just a rank 79 soul sage. Even if he was the sect leader of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect, he was no different from an ordinary person in Long Xiaoyao's eyes. This was the mentality of an ultimate Douluo. Apart from the gods, they were at the top of the pyramid. Given Long Xiaoyao's abilities, there weren't many people in the world who were worthy of his attention. Even in the Fighting Two world, only the dragon god Douluo Mu Yen, the death god Douluo Yi Shishure, the beast god Di Tian and a few others could be considered his opponents. In this world of Fighting One, there were only 3 exceptional Douluo who could be his match among the human soul masters. Long Xiaoyaro didn't give him any face at all. Chihiro Snow was still alright, but Ning Fengji looked a little awkward. However, he wasn't an ordinary person. He returned to normal almost instantly, and a warm smile appeared on his face once again. However, the sword Douluo behind Ning Fengji looked a little unhappy. However, he seemed to be afraid of Long Xiaoyao's abilities, so he didn't do anything. Chapter 194. At this point, Lu Yuan knew that it was time for him to speak. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if he angered Ning Fengji. Elder Long, since sect leader Ning and the Crown Prince are so kind, you should sit down. Lu Yuan's voice sounded. You're getting old. It's not good for you to keep standing. Yes, master. Since Lu Yuan had spoken, Long Xiaoyaro naturally followed his instructions and sat down. As for the frenzy rhino Douluo, he was still standing. Of course,
It wasn't as if he was being treated unfairly. After all, the sword Douluo was also standing. In fact, he, Ning Fengji, and Chihiro Snow were the leaders of the three factions. Long Xiaoyaro, the sword Douluo, and the frenzy rhino Douluo were all subordinates. How could the subordinates sit when the leaders were talking? However, Long Xiaoyaro was too strong. Ning Fengji and the others were wary of his abilities, which was why they arranged seats for him. After all, he was an ultimate Douluo. Seeing that Long Xiaoyaro had sat down, Lu Yuan smiled and said, "Crown Prince, sect leader Ning, I'm sorry. Elder Long is a little arrogant. Please don't blame him." Long Xiaoyaro had always been arrogant. Or rather, those with dragon martial souls were all arrogant. This was the nature of dragons. Long Xiaoyao only had eyes for two people in his life. One was the woman he loved the most, the death god Douluo Yi Shishure. The other was his lifelong brother, the dragon god Douluo Mu En. Besides them, he didn't have eyes for anyone else. After being summoned by Lu Yuan, he only had eyes for Lu Yuan. A person's personality wouldn't change. Haha, an expert like the Dragon Emperor has to have the personality of an expert. I understand. Ning Fengji laughed heartily. With Lu Yuan's words, the slight discomfort in his heart dissipated. He was an ultimate Douluo. Wasn't it normal for him to have a bit of a temper? Furthermore, Lu Yuan had already given him face. He couldn't ask for too much. Immediately, his attitude towards Lu Yuan improved a little. This young man looked cold, but he knew a thing or two about human affairs. "Young Master Lu, this Ning will introduce someone to you," Ning Fengji said with a smile. "Oh." Lu Yuan was a little confused. "Rong Rong, come here." Ning Fengji waved at Ning Rongrong, and Ning Rongrong, who had been beside the sword Douluo this entire time, immediately ran over. "Daddy." Ning Rongrong's crisp voice rang out. This stinky father finally remembered her. She was bored to death just now. "Master Lu, this is my daughter, Ning Rongrong." Ning Fengji introduced Ning Rongrong to Lu Yuan with a hint of pride in his expression. It seemed that he was very proud to have this daughter. "Hello, I'm Ning Rongrong." Ning Rongrong greeted Lu Yuan with a smile. Her words and actions were quite polite. It had to be said that although Ning Rongrong was a little witch in her bones, she was quite good at reading people's expressions. She knew who she shouldn't provoke and where she shouldn't make trouble. The aristocratic education of the Seven Treasures Glazed sect could be seen in Ning Rongrong. Seeing Ning Rongrong's educated and polite appearance, Lu Yuan might have been deceived if he hadn't read the original novel. It was really quite confusing. This Ning Rongrong's acting was quite good. "Hello, I'm Lu Yuan." He nodded at Ning Rongrong as a form of greeting. Ning Rongrong looked straight at Lu Yuan. In the past, she only looked at Lu Yuan from afar. Now that she was in close contact with him, she realized that Lu Yuan was really too handsome. He didn't look like a mortal at all. How could there be such a handsome person in the world? Ning Rongrong was also a face lover. In the original novel, accepting an Oscar was probably because of his good looks. Seeing his daughter staring straight at Lu Yuan, Ning Fengji felt a little embarrassed. Why was Rongrong so infatuated? He immediately coughed. "Young Master Lu, I have a question, but I don't know if I should ask." "Sect Master Ning, please speak your mind," Lu Yuan said lightly. "I see that young Master Lu is quite young, but I wonder how old young Master Lu is." "Oh, young Master Lu, don't misunderstand. I'm just a little curious." Seeing that Ning Fengji, sword Douluo, and Ning Rongrong were all curious, Lu Yuan smiled and said, "It's not something that can't be said. I'm 9 years old this year, but I'll be 10 in a month. You can just treat me as if I'm 10 years old." 9 years old? You'll be 10 in a month. The three of them were shocked at the same time. Even Qian Runxue, who already knew what was going on, pretended to be shocked. Her expression was so realistic that Lu Yuan could not help but admit that women were born actresses. Her acting skills were far from his. Ning Fengji sucked in a breath of cold air. Looking at Lu Yuan, he fell into an unprecedented shock. He was only a month away from 10 years old, but the youth opposite him was already rank 29.
He even had a 1,000-year second ring, and he even had a soul bone. Furthermore, he defeated 3 soul ancestors and 4 soul elders. He really couldn't believe that he had such strength at such a young age. This was no longer something that could be described as a genius. The sword Douluo's narrowed eyes suddenly opened. His heart was also shocked. This kind of talent was just too terrifying. Ning Rongrong's mouth was also slightly open. Rank 29 at 9 years old? She was only 9 years old, but she was only rank 19. She would soon break through to rank 20, but compared to Lu Yuan, the difference was like heaven and earth. This guy was only a few months older than her. Ning Rongrong's little heart was beating non-stop. Looking at Lu Yuan, her beautiful eyes shone with a strange light. No one knew what she was thinking. Young Master Lu's talent is just too shocking. Ning Fengji's eyes were burning with passion as he looked at Lu Yuan. He had to establish a relationship with such a genius no matter what. Not to mention Long Xiaoyao, who was an ultimate Douluo. Ning Fengji didn't want to give up on Lu Yuan's talent. Sect leader Ning, you're too kind. Lu Yuan smiled faintly. Hearing this, Ning Fengji's eyelids twitched. You're too kind again. Can't you say something else? What do you want me to say? If you don't reply, how can I continue praising you? Ning Fengji was a little helpless. Ning Rongrong, on the other hand, stared at Lu Yuan without blinking after learning of Lu Yuan's age. His eyes were burning, but Lu Yuan did not react at all to his stare. He had seen such gazes many times. Seeing that Ning Fengji didn't seem to know what to say, Lu Yuan guessed that it was about time for today. There was a process to building a relationship, and it wouldn't be good to interact too much at once. He immediately stood up and said, I still have something to do today. Your Highness, Sect Leader Ning, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Alright, I'll see you another day, young Master Lu. Ning Fengji smiled. He didn't expect to build a relationship so quickly. After all, as long as Lu Yuan was in Heaven Do Imperial City, they would have a chance to meet Lu Yuan if they wanted to. Young Master Lu, let me send you off. Chihiro Snow stood up with a smile on his face. Chapter 195. Chihiro Snow escorted Lu Yuan all the way to the entrance of the Crown Prince's residence, and said, Young Master Lu, I'll see you off here. Take care. He winked at Lu Yuan as he spoke, and a hint of information flashed through his eyes. Seeing this, Lu Yuan laughed bitterly in his heart. It seems that what will come will come. There's no way to avoid it. Thank you for seeing me off, Your Highness, Lu Yuan said as he raised 3 fingers before turning to depart. Chihiro Snow's eyes flashed at the sight of Lu Yuan's gesture. Seeing as Lu Yuan had left, there was naturally no need for Ning Fengji to stay any longer. He also departed from the Crown Prince's residence with the sword Douluo and Ning Rongrong after Lu Yuan. After seeing Ning Fengji off, Chihiro Snow returned to his study and sat down in silence for a while before rising to his feet and making his way toward the Imperial Palace. At the Starblue Hotel, Lu Yuan appraised the vast sea cosmic shroud in his hand with a peculiar smile on his face. It had to be said that this vast sea cosmic shroud was an inheritance treasure of the sea god, and it was indeed quite extraordinary. Perhaps it was because of the clear air divine seed, but Lu Yuan could clearly sense the immense power imbued within this vast sea cosmic shroud. The vast sea cosmic shroud was emanating a gentle blue light that dyed the entire hotel room blue, and it was extremely dazzling. Even Lu Yuan had to admit that this vast sea cosmic shroud looked like a work of art. Should I drip a drop of blood on it to claim ownership? Lu Yuan didn't want to end up like Tang San in the original novel, where the vast sea cosmic shroud had a gash on his head. Instead, he took the initiative to cut open his finger, and a drop of reddish-golden blood dripped onto the vast sea cosmic shroud. The drop of blood fused into the vast sea cosmic shroud, and a faint trace of blood also appeared within the translucent triangular surface. A slightly illusory figure drifted out from within the vast sea cosmic shroud, appraising Lu Yuan down below. What a pure bloodline and domineering constitution. It's more than enough to withstand the power of the vast sea. After so many years, I've finally found a suitable successor. The voice was old and calm, and the faint shadow floated above Lu Yuan's head, quietly watching him. All of a sudden, Lu Yuan seemed to have sensed something, and he raised his head slightly. The elderly figure's heart jolted upon seeing this, and he disappeared into the vast sea cosmic shroud once again. Lu Yuan saw nothing, but he was still quite confused. He had clearly sensed that someone was spying on him just then. One had to realize that ever since he obtained the clear Qi divine seed, his spiritual sense had reached an astonishing level. Clear Qi was the foundation of the heavens, and Lu Yuan had cultivated the clear Qi scripture and possessed the power of the clear Qi divine seed. Even if he couldn't achieve the legendary unity of heaven and man, he wasn't far off, so his spiritual sense was definitely unimaginably sensitive. He had sensed that someone was spying on him just then, and there was no mistaking that feeling. As such, it could only be that someone's cultivation base was too high for him to detect. Is it that old geezer, the sea god? Lu Yuan murmured in his heart. No ordinary person would be able to evade the detection of his polychoria, so it had to be a wisp of the sea god's spiritual sense within the vast sea cosmic shroud. The sea god's illusory figure appeared within the vast sea cosmic shroud, and he looked at Lu Yuan with a hint of astonishment on his face. This kid's senses are quite sharp. To think that he could detect my presence. How interesting. This successor seems to be quite good, and he has a chance to inherit my position. The sea god murmured to himself in a low voice. Then, the figure disappeared again. The vast sea cosmic shroud suddenly flashed with brilliant light, and it hovered in mid-air before stopping in front of Lu Yuan's glabella. A burst of blue light enshrouded Lu Yuan's entire body, and Lu Yuan's entire body shuddered as a massive amount of information instantly flowed into Lu Yuan's mind through his spiritual sense. The scenery before Lu Yuan's eyes suddenly changed. He was greeted by a boundless expanse of blue sky and azure seas. Beneath his feet was a surging ocean, while above his head was a clear, cloudless sky for thousands of kilometers. A cool and refreshing sensation flowed into his mind, and a series of information regarding the vast sea cosmic shroud instantly appeared in Lu Yuan's mind. Lu Yuan naturally learned how to use the vast sea cosmic shroud, as well as its various miraculous abilities. Lu Yuan's eyes were tightly shut as he carefully sensed the various miraculous abilities of the vast sea cosmic shroud. Meanwhile, the vast sea cosmic shroud rotated incessantly in front of Lu Yuan's glabella. All of a sudden, blue light flashed from the vast sea cosmic shroud, and it disappeared directly into Lu Yuan's glabella. Lu Yuan's heart jolted with shock, and he instantly opened his eyes, upon which a sharp light shone from within his dual pupils. The vast sea cosmic shroud had directly entered Lu Yuan's sea of consciousness. The projection of the sea god appeared within the vast sea cosmic shroud as he looked down at the vast golden ocean beneath his feet. So this is this kid's sea of consciousness. It really is quite impressive. Let me remodel it for him. The sea god chuckled, and dazzling blue light surged forth from the vast sea cosmic shroud, painting the golden ocean with a layer of blue light. The blue light surged forth like a tidal wave, and Lu Yuan felt a cool and refreshing sensation in his mind. His spiritual power was slowly becoming more powerful. Even though it wasn't by much, it was still a noticeable improvement. Furthermore, the blue light was still surging toward all parts of his body, and his golden dragon battle armor and atlas palm bone seemed to be slowly undergoing some unknown changes. However, not only was Lu Yuan not happy, but his expression had also darkened. His greatest secret lay within his sea of consciousness. Not only did he have the clear air divine seed, but he also had the god-slaying spear. He wasn't sure if these two items would attract the attention of the sea god. The clear air divine seed was still manageable, as it had no elemental divine power. Even the heavenly life goddess couldn't recognize it, and the sea god was most likely confused as well. However, the god-slaying spear was a little troublesome. Its aura was powerful enough to kill gods, and perhaps the sea god would be wary of it. After all, the god-slaying spear martial soul was far too unique and heaven-defying. What is this white light? It's repelling my vast sea power. The projection of the sea god was a little confused as he watched the clear air divine seed's white light keep the vast sea cosmic shroud's blue light at bay. One had to realize that his vast sea power was genuine divine power. How could there be something that could contend with it? The sea god's interest was piqued, and he continued to control the vast sea cosmic shroud to advance. TSK, this white light is quite strong, but no one is controlling it, so it can't stop me. The sea god controlled the vast sea cosmic shroud to destroy the white light around it as he continued to advance. Although the white light emitted by the clear air divine seed was powerful, it was only the outermost layer of the clear air divine seed's power, and no one was controlling it. However, the sea god had the vast sea cosmic shroud, and with the help of the boundless divine power of the sea god, he finally managed to squeeze into the core area of Lu Yuan's sea of consciousness. So, it's a divine seed. No wonder this kid is so lucky. However, this divine seed is quite strange. Its divine power has no elemental attributes. Although it's powerful, it's not very useful. The sea god shook his head. Although the level of this divine seed's power seemed to have surpassed his sea god seat, what kind of deity seat could it condense without any elemental attributes? Therefore, although it was powerful, it was useless. The projection of the sea god looked around, and the vast sea power continued to surge out, further transforming Lu Yuan's sea of consciousness. Suddenly, the sea god's power paused as it probed into a black domain. What's this? The sea god was startled. He wanted to move closer, but before he could do anything, an overwhelming killing intent instantly enveloped him. His projection was actually unable to move in the slightest under the might of this force. Chapter 196. An overwhelming murderous aura surged towards the sea god, and an aura that caused heaven and earth to tremble instantly enveloped the sea god's projection. What is this? The sea god was shocked. This murderous aura was far more terrifying than the Azura god's killing power. Even he couldn't help but tremble under this murderous aura. This is definitely an aura above the godly king level. The sea god's projection was shocked. Who is this kid? He actually has such power. No, I have to contact my main body quickly. An aura above the godly king level has appeared. I have to send this news to the godly realm committee. The sea god controlled his godly power and prepared to contact his main body in the godly realm. However, the sea god tried for a long time, but it was to no avail. Oh no, the connection has been cut off. I can't send the news out. The sea god looked at the white light that had surrounded him again. This non-elemental soul power that he didn't care about seemed to have sealed the entire heaven and earth and cut off his connection with his main body. Oh no, this godly seed is a little strange. The sea goddess let loose a cry of surprise, and she immediately prepared to use the vast sea cosmic barrier to forcefully break through the seal. However, right at this moment, an inky black spear that was glowing with crimson light pierced directly toward her. It was none other than the god-slaying spear. The god-slayer spear's sharp intent made the sea god's projection feel the aura of death. No. Amid sea god's mournful wails, the god-slayer spear pierced through sea god's phantom. Immediately, sea god's phantom vanished. Only the vast sea cosmic shroud was left spinning in the air. After killing the sea god's projection, the god-slayer spear shook a little before flying back. It left after killing the sea god without any hesitation. It was indeed the cold and aloof godslayer spear. Once the godslayer spear left, the clear aura and godly power surged forward. Endless white light enveloped the vast sea cosmic shroud and suppressed the blue light of the vast sea cosmic shroud. The white light started to penetrate the vast sea cosmic shroud. Lu Yuan's spiritual power had just entered his sea of consciousness when he saw the godslayer spear piercing through the sea god's projection. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly. As expected of the god-slaying spear, it would slay a deity just because of a disagreement. However, the sea god, that fool, was also courting death. He actually dared to provoke the god-slaying spear. Wasn't that the same as carrying a lantern to the toilet? Was he looking for trouble? Did they really think that the god-slaying spear's name was just for show? He actually used the power of the vast ocean to test it. One had to know that even the clear chi divine seed would have to shrink its tail and act like a grandson in front of the god-slaying spear. You're just a projection of the sea god, but you're pretty arrogant. Lu Yuan shook his head helplessly. But that wasn't a bad thing. The death of the sea god's shadow meant that a hidden danger had been removed. He didn't have to worry about his secret being exposed. As for whether or not Neptune's main body would find out about him, Lu Yuan was not worried. With the divine power of the clear air god seed, Neptune's main body would not be able to receive any information at all. Suddenly, a golden light spot flashed from the white light of the clear air spirit seed, and instantly sank into Lu Yuan's spiritual power. What's this? Lu Yuan only felt that there was something extra in his mind. When he sensed it carefully, he realized that it was some incomplete information. Sea God's 13 halberds. Lu Yuan suddenly opened his eyes. Sensing the incomplete information, Lu Yuan muttered to himself, only 4 moves. Sensing the incomplete information, it was the divinity light spot left after the sea god's shadow was killed by the god-slaying spear. It contained some of sea god's remaining memories. Lu Yuan's luck wasn't bad. He actually obtained 4 moves from the sea god's 13 halberds. Although it wasn't complete, it was sufficient. They were the first move, Unpredictable Storm. The second move, 1,000 Years of Solitude. The third move, Never Return. And the 13th move, Body and Halberd as One, Stars Shift. The most basic first move, Unpredictable Storm, and the strongest move, Body and Halberd as One, Stars Shift, are both here. My luck isn't bad. Sensing the 4 moves of the sea god's halberd art in his mind, even with Lu Yuan's temperament, he couldn't help but smile. This time, he had picked up a big bargain. The sea god's 13 halberds was sea god's most famous consummate skill. It was also the foundation of sea god's survival, and its power was astonishing. In the original work, just the first 3 moves had greatly increased Tang San's combat power. It had to be said that the sea god's 13 halberds were really good stuff. Although Lu Yuan didn't use a halberd, the spear and halberd were both long weapons and had some similarities. Lu Yuan was sure that the sea god's 13 halberds would be much more powerful in his hands than in Tang San's. After all, Tang San used a hammer and had nothing to do with a weapon like a halberd. Lu Yuan was different. He had practiced the spear since he was young, and the original halberd was developed from the foundation of the spear. Moreover, Tang San hadn't even comprehended the concept of martial arts. Lu Yuan's current attainments in the way of the spear had already reached the peak of the second realm, spear force. He was only a step away from the third realm, spear intent. How could Tang San compare to him? But why does the sea god's 13 halberds give me a familiar feeling? Lu Yuan pondered over the 4 moves of the sea god's 13 halberds in his mind. He felt that it was a little familiar, especially the concept of the vast ocean. That's right, the vast ocean spear art. Lu Yuan suddenly thought of something. That's right. Wasn't that familiar feeling similar to the vast ocean spear art? It was just that the concept of the vast ocean in the vast ocean spear art was much inferior to the concept of the sea god's 13 halberds, but it was indeed very similar. Stupid system, is this your doing? Lu Yuan secretly contacted the system and asked. System, alright, I knew you wouldn't have any reaction, Lu Yuan secretly said. He was more clear about the system's character. Most of the time, it wouldn't reply to any of his questions. However, the sea god's 13 halberds is much more profound than the vast ocean spear art. As expected of the sea god's divine skill. However, with the foundation of the vast ocean spear art, it doesn't seem that difficult to learn it, Lu Yuan secretly thought. He was currently at the peak of the spear force realm. However, if he could gain some comprehension from the sea god's 13 halberds, he might be able to enter the realm of spear intent. This is a huge profit. It's all thanks to the sea god, that silly old man. Lu Yuan chuckled. With the 4 moves of the sea god's halberds in his hands, his combat power would increase by a lot. How could he not be happy? In the realm of the gods, in the endless sea, this was where the sea god's temple was located. The sea god's strength was very strong. He was a first-grade main god, just below the 5 great divine kings. Even among the main gods, he was one of the best. The sea god's trident was a supra-divine weapon that only the divine kings could possess. In the realm of the gods, below the divine kings, there were very few first-grade gods who possessed a supra-divine weapon. The sea god was one of them. Chapter 197. It was also because of his strength that the sea god had a relatively high status in the god realm. In the sea god's temple, the sea god's huge figure suddenly opened his eyes, a trace of shock on his face. The divine will I left in the sea god's heart has actually disappeared. Furthermore, the sea god's heart doesn't seem to be able to sense it either. The sea god's face was filled with doubt. One had to know that his divine will wasn't like the Azura god or the angel god, which had been summoned many times. It had long since disappeared. He was the kind of person who had extremely high requirements. Only the person he chose could trigger his divine will, and after so many years, his divine will had never been triggered. How could it suddenly disappear without a trace? The sea god was puzzled. Furthermore, the sea god's heart, an important item used to pass down the sea god's deity's position, could not be sensed. The sea god immediately became anxious. It's a pity that Azura is too stubborn, and I can't go down personally. This is a little troublesome. The sea god muttered to himself. Forget it, I'll send a message to the Pasisi and ask her to find out what's going on. Even if she can't find out, it's not a big problem. Fortunately, I still had a trick up my sleeve. The sea god softly muttered to himself, even if the sea god's heart really can't be found, as long as I have the whale pearl in the deep-sea monster whale king's mind, I can still reforge the sea god's heart. Back then, I spared this bastard's life, and it really did come in handy one day. However, it's also very necessary to ask the Pasisi to investigate, the sea god said. Suddenly, the sea god's expression turned serious, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. I want to know who swallowed my sea god's heart. Could it be the work of a god in the god realm? Are you afraid that your successor will be a threat, so you deliberately disturbed my inheritance? You'd better not let me know who you are, or else. The sea god's voice was low, but it was filled with bone-chilling coldness. Night fell. Looking at the dark sky outside, Lu Yuan's heart skipped a beat. It was already the second night watch, and he could set off. Shui was definitely waiting for him. Elder Long, senior wild rhino, let's go, Lu Yuan said softly. Just as he finished speaking, Old Carefree and the frenzy rhino Douluo appeared beside him. My lord. Master Yuan. The two of them bowed together. Let's go, Lu Yuan said with a smile, then turned around and went out. Yes. The two of them followed behind Lu Yuan. Out of the hotel, at a deserted corner. Master, are we just going to walk in so openly? Long Xiaoyaro was surprised as he asked. Is Master going to walk in so openly without concealing himself? Of course. Lu Yuan smiled and said, I know what you're thinking. Look. Lu Yuan waved his right hand slightly, and the vast sea cosmic shroud flew out from his glabella and landed in Lu Yuan's hand. Gentle blue light instantly surged out, forming a transparent barrier that enshrouded the three of them. The two only felt that everything around them had turned into a blue world, but they could still see the outside world clearly. However, the three figures instantly disappeared around the corner. From the outside, they couldn't see anything at all. Their figures and even their auras were completely concealed by the cover. This is... Long Xiaoyaro and the frenzy rhino Douluo were stunned as they looked at the vast sea cosmic shroud in Lu Yuan's right hand. This is one of the uses of the vast sea cosmic shroud. It can conceal one's figure and aura. How is it? Not bad, right? With this item, we can walk in openly, Lu Yuan said. No wonder you asked for this vast sea cosmic shroud from the Heaven Do imperial family. It seems to be extraordinary. The frenzy rhino Douluo said. Didn't you hear what Master Yuan said? This is only one of its uses. There must be other uses. How can something like this not be a treasure? However, even though he was curious, the frenzy rhino Douluo didn't ask. This was because he knew what to ask and what not to ask. Master Yuan was different from before. He wasn't the only one beside him. There was a powerful figure beside him. The frenzy Rhino Douluo couldn't afford to offend this person. Therefore, he had to do his part. Congratulations on obtaining a treasure, my lord, Long Xiaoyaro said. Let's go. Lu Yuan held the vast sea cosmic shroud as the three of them walked along the main road. They walked openly towards the Crown Prince's mansion. As he felt the vast sea cosmic shroud in his hand, Lu Yuan sensed that it seemed a little different from before. It seemed to be easier to use. Could it be because the Godslayer spear had destroyed the sea god's consciousness? Lu Yuan thought to himself. In fact, Lu Yuan was wrong. The vast sea cosmic shroud was so obedient now, but it had nothing to do with the sea god's consciousness being destroyed. The main reason was that the clear energy god's power had entered the sea god's heart and refined it. Therefore, it was easier for Lu Yuan to control the vast sea cosmic shroud. The clear energy god's power contained the power of laws. The power of laws was contained in all things. It couldn't be easier to change the restrictions and methods left behind by the sea god in the sea god's heart. After all, even the sea god's power of the vast sea was only a small part of the things governed by the power of laws. If the sea god's heart had an owner, the clear energy god's seed wouldn't be able to do anything to it. After all, the sea god's projection had been destroyed, and the sea god's heart was no longer under anyone's control. Therefore, the clear energy god's power directly entered the sea god's heart and refined it from the outside to the inside. It could be said that the vast sea cosmic shroud was no longer under the sea god's control. It only had Lu Yuan as its owner now. It was a personal item. Even if it was handed over to the sea god wouldn't be able to control it. The power of laws was just that domineering. Of course, Lu Yuan didn't know any of this. However, it didn't stop him from feeling happy. Crown Prince's mansion. Lu Yuan and the other two suddenly appeared in the Crown Prince's mansion. Chihiro Snow was guarded by the snake spear Douluo and the thorny pufferfish Douluo. When the three of them appeared, the two of them sensed them. Of course, they were there because Lu Yuan had removed the vast sea cosmic shroud. Who's there? The snake spear Douluo shouted as he suddenly appeared. When he saw Lu Yuan's familiar figure, he immediately relaxed. So it's young Master Yuan. I thought it was an assassin. Young Master Yuan, please. Young Master Yuan has been waiting for a long time. All right. Lu Yuan nodded gently and followed behind the snake spear Douluo. Young Master Yuan, we're here. The snake spear Douluo stopped in a room. Where is this? As he looked at the room in front of him, Lu Yuan felt that something was wrong. This isn't the way to the study, right? This is young master's room, the snake spear Douluo said. Room? Lu Yuan immediately thought of many things. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.